I'm Danny Dyer. Playing hard men and acting tough has been my bread and butter. But now I've got a new role. I'm going to be tracking down some of the most feared men in the country on both sides of the law. I'm going to find out what makes them tick, how they got their fearsome reputations, and why they're considered some of Britain's deadliest men. I've come to meet a man with a reputation as one of the hardest men in Liverpool.
This is one hard nigga to kill.
A man who terrorised the underworld with extreme violence.
You even rob drug dealers?
I'd lift up my balaclava and say, it's me, the devil. What are you going to do about it?
A man who left drug dealers living in fear that he'd come knocking on their door.
He's a fighter all the way too.
A man they called the devil.
I'm in Liverpool to meet Stephen French, a notorious gangster from Liverpool who specialised in the perfect crime, robbing drug dealers, known in the underworld as taxation. He had a fearsome reputation on the street, but I was on my way to meet the man behind the myth. For the first time, he'd agreed to open up his world for the cameras and take me into the heart of the devil himself. Even the cabbies round here had heard of him.
What do you know about this Stephen French?
I mean, he used to torture drug dealers.
Yeah.
And a lot of the drug dealers knew him as the devil.
Unbelievable. You're going to take on drug dealers and, you're going to rob them.
Yeah.
You're going into a dark world, do you know what I mean?
He's a reformed character now, isn't he?
I just hope he's a fan of Cockneys, you know what I mean?
Stephen had told me to take the ferry across the River Mersey and meet him at the pier. The only reason he had agreed to make this film with me was to promote his new anti-gun campaign, and I didn't know what to expect. Even though he's now reformed, in his heyday, he was one of the most dangerous men alive, and I was starting to feel nervous.
Shit. Watch yourself. So here we go. The size of the geezer. Steve.
Danny.
Pleasure. Pleasure. Absolute pleasure. I should have whacked a suit on, son. You look in the business.
I always wear a suit, Danny. I always wear a suit.
First things first, French offered to show me around his manor.
It's a lovely little motor, that, though, isn't it?
At 7:30, it's a workhorse.
In the 80s, these streets used to belong to Stephen French. Now, it's one of the most deprived ghettos in the UK, and Stephen is still widely recognised by the locals.
Lunatics. Some sort of mad megaphone in his motor shouting out.
I don't even know them when they know me.
But not everyone in Liverpool is so friendly to Stephen. I was about to find out that someone wanted to kill him.
I'll take you to the park where a really serious incident happened to me.
OK.
Now, this was in November last year. This was the incident that I considered most serious.
OK.
It was here in Sefton Park that French nearly met his end when he found himself directly in the firing line. In November 2007, he was visiting a friend when he was targeted by a hit squad and chased into the park.
And I took off like Kip Kano, got into the park, right? And I see them close to the trees, I'm there, but then they've come. This is how I know that they were fucking serious individuals, Dan. They turned the lights on into the park, and then one of them's got out, and he's obviously got a handgun. The other one, but he's got a long coat on, right? And I've seen him flick his coat, so I know he's got a shotty, yeah? I'm thinking, fuck me, I've got none. And there's a pond over there.
Yeah.
So I've got into the pond. The water's up to there, so you can't see me. Like, I've got a 3/4 length coat on, I put it over me, and I'm lying by the rocks. See, I'm right in front of you, but you can't see me. Fucking wicked. Subterfuge and misdirection, right? Two of my oldest friends. And I'm looking through the buttonhole on my coat, and I could see them, right? And I had apprehension, but not fear. And it's a Japanese thing. I've got my phone. I'm hiding the lights on my phone, and I'm saying to the but audio, just sound your fucking siren. Just sound your siren.
Yeah.
That'll be enough.
That's enough, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And then I've come out to the pond. I'm wet up to there. right? And then they've gone, on the fucking floor now, on the floor now. I said, I'm getting on the floor for nobody. My name's Stephen French. I phoned you, I'm not armed, and I'm not getting on the floor. On the floor. I said, I'm not getting down. I'm not getting on the fucking floor. Come and say it to me, I'm not getting on the floor. I survived that attempt. I've survived over 6 or 7 attempts on my life, but they was there to fucking whack me proper.
Yeah.
I had no idea that taking a stroll in the park with Stephen would be so dangerous.
It's not like we're doing this very stealth and it's me and him on our own, you know, sort of keeping our nuts down. We're walking around with a camera. So I'm a bit on edge, to be honest with you, at the moment, you know. I'm a bit like, constantly like, and I don't want to let him know that because obviously, you know, it shows a bit of weakness and a bit, I don't know, I just don't want to give too much away yet, you know what I mean? But actually, you know, I've got to say, you know, my bum is flapping a little bit.
I'm in Liverpool meeting Stephen French, one of the most notorious gangsters to have ever come from the city. I'd already spent a day running around with the devil and found out that he had survived a recent attempt on his life. On the fucking floor now! And more worrying for me, his attempted killers were still at large.
You know, my bum is flapping a little bit.
Liverpool is the 2008 city of culture, but it also has a dark underbelly. Gun crime. Merseyside's elite crime fighting unit, the Matrix, has seized hundreds of weapons, from replicas to military-issue automatics. I needed to understand why Stephen was a target and how he got to be so feared and unpopular.
When I was a taxman and I was taxing people, yeah, it was a destitute time out there, right? And I was of the Malcolm X's school, by any means necessary. I wanted to build this reputation. I wanted to be known as a bad man.
He'd steal off the kind of people who couldn't go to the police. Like, excuse me, I've just had 5 kilos of cocaine stolen off me and £320,000 of illegitimate money. You know, that shouldn't have in my wardrobe or under the bed. And good on him. Then people need to be fucking robbed.
Even though robbing criminals made Stephen enemies, he didn't care.
Yeah, sometimes I'd have somebody in a situation where I was liberating them from their funds, yeah, and they wouldn't even know it was me. I'd lift up my balaclava and say, it's me, the devil, what are you going to do about it? And this was how the reputation began to grow and grow, because I actually believed that nobody could touch me and that I was one of the fiercest men on the planet.
Stephen French is a survivor, and his instinct was honed growing up in Toxteth in the 70s. These were deprived streets where only the tough survived. To make things worse, Liverpool was one of the most racist cities in Europe.
The skinheads in Liverpool carried bag chains. I've been whipped and had the mark on the back of my neck to show it.
The Boundary pub was literally that. It separated the black ghetto from white Liverpool. Crossing the boundary involved hand-to-hand combat with skinhead gangs just to go down to the city centre.
At that time, we had a brutal police force. Yeah, it was racist to its core. The first time I was assaulted off a cop, I was 11, whacked in the face with a torch.
This kind of police brutality was a recipe for only one thing: revenge. In 1981, it all kicked off with one of the UK's fiercest ever race riots.
They came under a fusillade of bricks and stones and whatever.
They'd arrested some kid over the bike.
And that's what it was over, yeah? Just that?
That was the spark, Dan.
Yeah.
Get me? It wasn't over that.
So as a build-up...
This is the tensions they've been building for years.
A police van drove past and a guy shouted out the window, "You black bastard." Where's the sense in that?
This tension exploded in 9 days of sustained violence against the police, and Stephen was right in the thick of it.
I think Stephen, his persona, his personality, built basically around the Toxteth riots.
My own personal involvement in the riots was as a frontline warrior. Yeah, because I was this close to the police officers, and I was just, it was the release and the letting go of the frustration and the tension before the police all the way down to here. They'd never experienced that kind of ferocity because everything was on fire. I can remember picking up a bin lid, picking up a stick and starting to move forward, but rhythmically banging the floor. And everybody followed suit, right? It was like the Zulus. I've never felt a feeling of power like that. Or to see these
it's like a massive release, isn't it? You know what I mean?
See the enemy on the run, and they got slaughtered.
One civilian was killed, and 468 policemen were left injured. 500 people were arrested and 70 buildings burnt to the ground.
We broke the mould of not being able to come out of our community and not being able to go to town.
Yeah.
And that night, over those few days, the foot was surely taken off and rammed up them. Yeah, and it was, man, Dan, the feeling was fantastic.
Yeah.
Better than sex.
In the aftermath of the riots, as the city nursed its wounds, Stephen was reborn.
And I can remember raising my head to the sky and letting out a primeval roar of victory.
French wanted to show me where the front line of the riots were on Upper Parliament Street, but he was feeling uneasy about all the attention we were getting.
Camera draws attention.
Yeah.
Don't want to get, use of professionals. Don't want to get you drawn into my shit. So we'll be quick, in and out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good boy.
All right.
Good man. Okay.
After only a few minutes, French pulls the plug. He feels that he's putting himself and me in unnecessary danger. Later on, I found out that he had every reason to be on guard. Someone had tried to kill Stephen in broad daylight only 4 weeks ago. We hopped back in the motor so he could show me where it happened.
This is where I was shot at 4 weeks ago.
You shot up here?
Yeah, it's just...
Yeah.
And there's 4 or 5 of them standing here, but they see me coming, and they've got it into the mind that I'm coming back for them, Dan.
Oh, okay.
That I've seen one day, but he's seeing me, and he's kind of running over that way, running away from me. But as he's running, he's popping shots. Now, this is a 730. He's in the space there.
Yeah.
This is a 730 BMW. It's a massive car.
Yeah.
So earnest was his effort that not even a bullet touched the car.
There were 5 shots fired in total. One of them ended up in a house across the street. The family who live here refused to go on camera. It was clear to me that this is a community in the grip of fear. The shooting was in the middle of the day, but like many crimes in Liverpool, there are no witnesses.
There are people who've still got a grudge against Stephen, and because they don't like him speaking out against the gangs which are coming up who are armed with guns. They don't like his anti-gun stance.
You obviously can't fight fire with fire like that, but how do you confront that? I mean, how do you deal with that?
My hands are tied in terms of I can't retaliate in kind, right? Because, look, I hope I bump into one of them in the supermarket and I'll spank them like I'm the daddy. You understand, right?
Yeah.
I'll give them a hell of a kicking, right?
Yeah.
But I don't want to shoot anybody. I don't want to kill anybody. They're jokers. They can't even hit a barn door.
Yeah.
Right?
I was feeling very uneasy. Stephen clearly had lots of enemies, but I was shocked that someone had tried to take him out so recently.
That freaked me out. I knew it was going to be a bit ropey filming in Liverpool, Cockney running about with a camera, but when we was with him, I thought we're safe. But actually, there was still a lot to learn about the geezer.
The next day, I was invited down to the gym to find out how Stephen had become such a potent force in the underworld.
The mighty Bruce Lee.
Stephen is no ordinary street fighter. He's a former British, European and world kickboxing champion. Martial arts instilled in Stephen the Japanese warrior code of Bushido, which he would obey throughout his life.
I'm going to show you how important the honour and integrity is to me, because as a 10-hour sitting...
Yeah.
10 hours, pure pain.
Yeah, got it, yeah. Got it, yeah.
That's who I am, that's what I'm about, and I wear it on my back. That's with me for my life. This dragon is honour, this dragon on this side is integrity, and within side, in the middle, is the beast. I'm the beast within. If you cross the twin dragons of honour and integrity, the beast within is released. Yeah. And once the beast is released, the only way you can put him back in his cage is to sate him, which is to feed him, or to slay him, which is to kill him. And that's the way I live my life. If you cross me, you've got to feed me, or you've got to kill me. And it's as simple as that.
Mad way to live your life, you know what I mean?
No, it's a code, man.
It's a discipline, and it's something that you live by.
It's a code. And if you die by that code, or you live by that code, you can say that you've remained true to something in your life.
The person responsible for teaching Stephen this code was to become the most influential figure in his life. Sensei Ronnie Colwell, legendary founding father of British karate.
He's my sensei, my mentor, my guide, and my wife father.
All these people who are angry and frustrated, no opportunities, no education, you know, no motivation, fighting against the system. And this one man could walk in the room, they'd all just stand there in attention.
He might not look hard, but if he wanted to, Sensei Colwell could probably kill you with his bare hands.
He's an 8th dan karate, Shotokan, 5th dan jiu-jitsu, 9th dan aikido. He teaches SAS, special forces, military, still to this day.
I remember saying to him, look, you've got something. Inside of you, there's something very special.
Ronnie showed me how to be a man. His effect on me was profound.
From a small gym in the ghetto, Ronnie Colwell transformed Stephen and 7 others into world champions. Their bright red tracksuits were revered around the world. I wasn't about to cross Stephen's twin dragons of honour and integrity. Imagining the devil in his prime being unleashed was a frightening thought. I felt sorry for anyone who had crossed him in the past.
Making these films become a whole new thing for me, you know what I mean? It's not about bravado and giving it the big one and, you know, I'm the toughest man in Liverpool. I ain't really been a sense of that. I feel I've learned something about him, but at the same time, I know absolutely nothing about him, and I still don't know, you know, whether he's liable to do the switch at any point.
The skills French learnt in the ring, he soon put into practice on the street. He was part of a new generation of criminal, young, black and angry. In 1986, he teamed up with his best pal, Andrew John, to take over the doors here at the Grafton, one of the most notorious clubs in Liverpool. They directly challenged the white Liverpool mafia, who controlled the lucrative drugs trade.
At the time we did that, right, it was when me, Andrew and myself were feeding off each other and we were at the height of our physical powers. We believed we were invincible.
If French had a hard reputation, Andrew John's was even tougher. Together, Stephen and AJ were an unstoppable team. Blood brothers, karate champions, and partners in crime.
It was a dangerous chemistry, yeah, because we could walk into a room and we could walk into a club and empty a club.
All the time.
Andrew John's brothers remember some of his battles, which are the stuff of urban legend.
9 doormen pulling out koshers and baseball bats, and you just went through them like paper. And the people on the till and the bar and all that all shit themselves.
At the time, some nightclubs were whites only, but not for long.
We went to the club. We rendered about 4 or 5 of the doormen unconscious and all the black youths in. You've got a no nigger policy here, right? And I use that word because that was the word we used then.
Yeah.
Cuffed them, went inside, ordered champagne, drank the champagne, let the black lads in and told them that they couldn't do that.
Your black pals were at the bar drinking champagne. How does that make you feel?
In control of my own life, in control of my own destiny, and that nobody could fuck with us.
Yeah.
Backing up Stephen on the door was a crew of world champion fighters.
We were a phenomenal crew. We were a scary crew, and we took no shit.
Yeah.
And what you've got to remember is that this was a colour bar club.
Yeah.
Right?
Before he could tell me more, we're suddenly interrupted by someone from inside the Grafton.
All right, pal.
So, no one's give you any permission to this filming?
How you doing, mate? Yeah, we're just filming it outside here, though.
We're finished now, we're going.
Yeah, we're done now, mate, yeah.
Okay. What it is that I used to work here in the 80s.
Yeah, I know you are, Steve.
Okay, and it was just...
Once again, it looks like Stephen's reputation precedes him, and we're moved on.
Let's have it, come.
I really wanted to hit him.
Well, listen, look. At the end of the day, we got it anyway, didn't we? No, he knows exactly who you are, and he just wants a pound note to doesn't he? But actually... Yeah, well, no, he's a fucking idiot.
I was thinking, I'm going to cuff this, right? But, as always, I have to suppress those edges. I haven't mellowed, because the fire still rages inside. The beast is still there.
I was getting a glimpse of the beast that lurked inside Stephen French's psyche. I'd heard so many rumours about him, I didn't know what to believe. We stopped off at Stephen's favourite restaurant for a spot of lunch, and I asked him what he thought about the reputation he had in Liverpool.
The people that you're talking to only know Stephen French, the warrior. They don't know Stephen French, the friend. They don't know him, the brother. They don't know him, the son, and they don't know him as the father. Right? Because they're other facets, they just know me with my war face on and the reason why I'm such a formidable foe, death doesn't hold any fear for me.
Stephen French broke the shackles of his white oppressor in the 1981 race riots and became a man.
I can remember raising my head to the sky and letting out a primeval roar of victory.
He trained himself into a world kickboxing champion. Now he turned his attention to his full-time occupation, taxing drug dealers. A new drug hit the streets in the mid-80s that would change the face of the underworld forever and allegedly make Stephen French a mint.
I could phone someone now and order a kilo of crack for 30 grand. I wouldn't have to touch it. I'd give it to 10 people to sell for me. I'd make £15,000 and then pay back. It's easy. It's too easy.
But more drug dealers meant only one thing to Stephen: more business. At his peak, he was rumoured to be taxing a dealer a week, earning hundreds of thousands of pounds for just a few hours' work. Stephen had agreed to give me a unique insight into his past as an underworld taxman. Now I was on my way to meet him in a secret location in the suburbs. I didn't know it yet, but I was only minutes away from one of the maddest experiences of my life.
I've asked Danny Dyer to meet me here this afternoon, right, with a view to showing him a taxation scenario. These are the things that are actually going on today. They're quite horrific and scary, but this is the insight that I want the viewer to have, and those of the squeamish should look away.
This is the first time a real-life taxation scenario has ever been shown on TV. Stephen was taking a big risk by opening up this side to me, but I got the feeling he was on his own journey to atone for some of the things that happened in the past.
You know, this guy is known as the Taxman. You know, his nickname was the Devil, and there was a reason for that, in the fact that, you know, he used to rob drug dealers, and he used to, you know, I don't know, torture them. I don't know what he used to do to them, but, you know, I need to get a sense of that. You know, obviously not too much, you know what I mean?
It's time to get into character. It's time for the switch to be flipped. I don't want to scare the guy. I don't want to glamorize the taxation, but I want to show the nitty-gritty nuts and bolts of what actually used to take place.
Here we go. Bit of taxation. Right, let's have it. So the door's already open, so it's like, OK, sweet, let's go in.
Yeah,
away,
with that hand, yeah. Even if you want to start struggling, right? If I put it on you now, Dan, you're gone. I'm only holding you, yeah? Right? But it would be. Yeah?
Straight
lifted.
away.
You're going to be awake for about 3 seconds. You lift it, you put down in a chair, right? And then the individual, the people that had him, would secure him in the chair. Yeah? Hands and feet to secure him in the chair, yeah? Keep him quiet, but they leave his eyes open. I've had some geezers, and they started to mouth off, blah, 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 who do you think you are, blah, 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 and I just jammed their eye. You get me? Just jammed their eye, and just, you know, give them some sharp pain, right? And say to them, well, you know, shut up, because next time your eye will come out. Next time I'll pop your eye out. If you want to come out to the sunscape, behave yourself, be respectful. The individual that now had you would be dressed in head to toe in black. They'll have a black balaclava and black gloves on, right? And you wouldn't be able to see who they were. They'd have a really large kitchen knife, yeah? And the first thing to do would walk over to you and they'd show you the knife and put the knife down, yeah? And then the rhetoric possibly would go something like this. I fucking hate drug dealers. I fucking hate people that sell drugs to children and ruin communities, but I fucking love money. I'm here to relieve you of your cash. If you don't give me your cash, really horrible, nasty things are going to happen to you. But it's all a matter for you. I don't want to have to harm you. I don't want to have to hurt you.
But you're poisoning communities. You're killing people. And you're getting fat and rich off it, and that disgusts me. You disgust me. So what's the matter for you? I've got a phone here. Fresh, clean phone, never been used. You're gonna call your stash minder, whether it's your fucking granny, your ma, your bird, your best pal, and you're gonna make it good. And you're gonna tell them, in about an hour, someone's coming to pick up the money. You're gonna have to act like you've never fucking acted before. And if you use any codes, like I know you're referred to as Danny, if you say something like it's Daniel on the phone, I know you're using a code. Don't fucking try any of that shit, because I've been here before. I'm a professional. This is what I do. And this is how the individual will be made to feel. You'll be overwhelmed psychologically. And if you don't do that, this is what's going to happen to you.
Stephen's told us not to broadcast what he's whispering in my ear. It's too upsetting. But I can tell you, it's not something I'll forget.
It's up to you. Something along those lines, Dan. Yeah?
Well, I'd pull up the dough immediately. I'd pull up the dough, man. You just think...
To my shame, and to my embarrassment, it's stripping them of their dignity. I've had a 17-stone fucking bodybuilder come in and shit his kecks. You get me? Proper mess his trousers. Piss himself because they don't know what's going to happen. And this is why taxation is such a nasty, evil activity. I regret it 100%. And one of the reasons why I'm speaking about it now, I'm being quite graphic about it, is to bring it to the wider public of what it's all about.
Yeah, I've just got a sense of what that could be like, and I just think
you know, if it's done correctly, nobody gets hurt physically. But I actually believe, in retrospect, the emotional and mental damage that it can cause to an individual leaves me ashamed.
I mean, it's hard to feel sorry for a smack dealer, do you know what I mean? But you would think, you know, that is the worst case scenario. I don't see how you come back from that. I can't really understand how anyone wouldn't pull up the dough or wouldn't do as they're told, do you know what I mean? That's freaked me out a little bit. That's done me. I feel a bit sick. I feel like I'm going to chuck my breakfast up.
I needed to take a breather and get some fresh air. Luckily, before too long, I was back to my old self.
All right, girls?
Hiya.
You all right, love? A couple of salts. Right up my street.
French no longer taxes anyone, but he still trades off his hard man reputation to make money. But this time, legitimately, as a self-styled problem solver extraordinaire and commercial debt recoverer. He invited me to follow him on a debt.
Radisson, there's a guy there waiting to see me. It's fucking roasting 2 ticks.
I'll wait here for you, yeah? I've jumped straight in the motor. He's had to stop off somewhere, go and pick something up. Don't know what. So, you know, obviously I'm going to do as I'm told. I don't know what he's after, I don't know what he's got to get. He's coming now, so I'm going to be lively. Sorted. Sweet ass. No, mate, sweet ass.
It's only taken minutes, but Stephen's just picked up 10 grand.
He's having some 10 grand for a Friday afternoon at work.
Sweet as. So to get that money back, it's usually just a bit of dialogue you just need to use, yeah?
It's as simple as this, Dan, right? If I say to you, if you don't pay me the money that you fucking owe me, I'm going to snap your legs in about 4 places. I broke the law. If I come to you and I say to you, you owe the money, you know it's the right thing to do. You know who I am, you know what I'm about, so pay the money.
Yeah.
I haven't broken no laws.
Yeah.
In the early 90s, Stephen was at the peak of his powers as the country's most feared taxman. When something happened that shook him to his core and would change his life forever.
I was in the afternoon on Granby Street and I was shot 4 times in the back by a dirty coward. I just couldn't believe Andrew was dead.
It took 45 minutes for them to come and take him to the hospital. And an ambulance come to the end of the street after 5 minutes, but because it was a gun crime, it had to wait for response. That was another 40 minutes.
And I actually believed
that it was the end of the world, that my world had come to an end.
Every year on the anniversary of Andrew's murder, Stephen and his brothers meet up to pay tribute to him.
Oh, by the way, they're trying to get me to link up with you a little bit sooner than I'm ready. They took a few shots at me this year, kid. But I'm still here. A lot of bullshit going on. Nothing that I can't handle. A lot of people that don't like me say it should have been me, and it shouldn't have been him. And it transpires that the guy that killed Andrew had more reason to want to kill me. And the reason why he had more reason to want to kill me is that he believed I was responsible for doing something terrible to him.
We can listen to as many conspiracy theories as possible. It's not going to bring my brother back, so at the end of the day...
Andrew's murder was the catalyst for Stephen to start reassessing his life.
And I believe that I was protected and I was saved for a reason. I've been there, I've seen it, I've done it. Listen to me. There's another way. Lay down your firearms. Embrace education and learn to look after your family other than pistolero or drug dealer. If I save one young man, black, white, Chinese or indifferent, from ending up in a premature grave due to gun violence and crime, it will all have been worthwhile.
Today, Stephen has been invited to speak to a delegation of high-profile criminologists and academics to help spread his anti-gun message. In his friend's memory, he plans to open the Andrew John Memorial Skills Centre to prevent teenagers from following in his footsteps.
Will it be a happy ending or one to regret? Success, prison or death, I need to watch out.
It's a humbling and liberating experience to be invited to speak here today.
He hopes the speech will help raise funding for the Skills Centre.
I have to bear responsibility and culpability in the rise of the phenomenon known as gun crime. I'm 6'3", 225 pounds of prime black male. And how could a 10-stone drug dealer protect himself from a guy like me, former British, European and world kickboxing champion? How he did it is he armed himself. 1994, my daughter was born, and I had an epiphany. I knew I had to turn my life around. My options were success, death, or jail. Me personally, I want to show them the way to success. I want to show them the road to success. Success as a bricklayer, success as a plumber, success as a carpenter. All areas of success that don't lead to jail or death and don't lead to a life of drugs or pistolero. This is done to shock and horrify, yeah? This is a T-shirt that several young men had made, that I've made an attempt on my life because I'm standing up to be counted and giving an anti-gun message. R.I.P. Stephen French. Such is my determination, I've changed R.I.P. to really increase the peace. Thank you very much for their time and effort. That was nerve-wracking.
Even the fact that he's trying to change is an achievement, because when you've been knees deep in high-level organised crime for 20 years, it's really difficult to turn your back on it.
With a young family and extra responsibility, Stephen was determined to turn over a new leaf. But going straight was going to be the hardest thing Stephen French has ever done. Stephen was at the peak of his powers in the underworld when he gave it all up in the 90s. The death of his blood brother and partner in crime, Andrew John, had a dramatic impact on his life.
And actually believed that it was the end of the world.
He moved out of Toxteth and now lives across the river in leafy suburbia, where he runs a successful property portfolio and debt recovery business. I wanted to get to the bottom of why Stephen had been shot at recently, so he invited me to his house to show me around. He's survived 7 assassination attempts, so it's no surprise that Stephen is security conscious. He'll protect his family at all costs.
The gangsters today don't discern between you, your family or your associates. If they can get at you by killing your daughter or kidnapping your daughter, they will do.
I was about to discover that Stephen had an Achilles heel that was a lot closer to home.
This is my family war.
And the problem didn't come from outside. It come from his own flesh and blood.
Stephen Jr. was involved in gangs. He was starting to get into the criminal lifestyle.
There was nothing Stephen could do to prevent his son from sinking deeper into crime.
He blames himself to a degree that Stephen Jr. is behaving like he is because he's trying to live up to his dad's reputation and stuff.
And Stephen's worst nightmare came true when his son was shot.
When I seen my own son's blood being collected in a container, the big, bad, wicked devil Frenchman blubbered like a baby. The tears were uncontrollable. My Stephen said to me, Dad, don't cry, I'm okay, I'm fine. Because he resented the fact that I was broken. Every ounce of my fiber, every ounce of my warrior being called out to attack and wreak havoc. That's what my heart told me. The demon that I can summon on in an instant was rattling the cage, man, rattling the cage. And I had to control that demon. I had to control that demon.
Since the shooting, Stephen Jr. has left Liverpool to successfully rebuild his life, but his dad is still dealing with the fallout. Stephen's enemies have gone to great lengths to assassinate his character, even tagging the walls with graffiti, accusing him of being a police informer.
Being called the grass is like someone calling you a paedophile. And then once that label's put on you, you're fair game to be shot.
This home footage shows just what he thinks of the person responsible.
A little skulking little bitch that runs around in the evening painting shit on the wall about a man that he's so jealous of, so envious of. The greenness is oozing out of you.
I challenge any journalist in the country to find or dig out the statements where somebody's received a custodial sentence from something that I did, because I've never police informed on anybody.
The bitterness against Stephen and his family runs deep with the new generation in Toxteth. I wanted to track down who these kids were that now control the streets and find out for myself what they think of Stephen. A gang of them agreed to speak, provided their identities were hidden.
I heard he come here the week right there where we're standing now. And he got shot at and that, so you tell me if he come through here again, I don't know what would happen. He might have been feared back in the day, but obviously it's 2008 and things have changed and he's not feared no more. Stephen French is a grass. He's a pussy.
These kids were hiding behind their masks, but Stephen still has to take their threat seriously.
I sleep on the couch and my wife and daughter sleep upstairs because my address is no secret. And if people choose to come to my house, choose to break into my house in an attempt to murder me, they'll find me downstairs. But the people that come for me, they're not gonna come with Ludo and Tiddlywinks, yeah? 38, 45 pun-popping shotguns is what's gonna be the recipe for me. In the face of that, I stay here. In the face of that, as a black Englishman, I'm entitled to defend my castle. And this is a phrase I use for only trusted family and friends. This is one hard nigger to kill. This is one hard nigger to kill.
Even though Stephen forgives those people who want to kill him, he still has to control his natural instinct to fight back.
So, I mean, how hard has it been to sort of turn your back on that world, you know? And
well, the transition has been very, very difficult. At times, the desire to say, fuck this, let's do it again then, right? Because some of the people, like, that are coming at me now, right? They're like Jack Russells snapping at the heels of a Rottweiler. Do you get me? That if I wanted to, I could shake them.
Yeah.
If I wanted to, I could turn their lives upside down. If I wanted to, I could make them have nightmares about me. I could make them see me in a dream because the fire, the will to crush your enemies is still there. But I'm a different person. I have to lead by example. I don't want to be murdered. I don't want to die a violent death. But if that's my lot, so be it. You understand? Because someone has to take a stand, someone has to stand up, and we have to start somewhere to start to readjust the balance of what's going on.
Stephen French helped break the stranglehold of racism in the 80s with his bare fists and should be a hero in the community. Instead, because of his anti-gun campaign, he's hated by a new generation of gangsters.
He's put his life on the line for something that he believes in, and there's no greater honour than that.
You cannot stop him in any of the conventional terms.
I know in my heart, in my mind, and in my soul, in my kukuru, my inner heart, what type of man I am. I choose to stay here and campaign against guns and do what I'm doing because I'm giving something back.
In today's gang wars, the rules of engagement have changed radically since Stephen's day. I've learnt that teenage gangs fear no one, and they'll shoot you to prove it. Stephen is nearly 50 years old, but he's lost none of his will to fight. He's going to the ultimate lengths to battle gun crime by putting his own life on the line. I'm just glad I met Stephen now, and not in his day, when he was one of Britain's deadliest men.
I'm Danny Dyer. Playing hard men and acting tough has been my bread and butter. But now I've got a new role. I'm going to be tracking down some of the most feared men in the country on both sides of the law. I'm going to find out what makes them tick, how they got their fearsome reputations, and why they're considered some of Britain's deadliest men. Come to a secret location in the English countryside to try and get inside the mind of an SAS soldier.
This man has been at the centre of some of the world's most dangerous conflicts.
I'll shoot first, ask questions later.
He's survived 9 war zones and has done his duty no matter what the cost. Killing is his business.
If some twat wants to kill me, I'm going to kill him.
But has war become his addiction? I'm about to meet a man who'll go to terrifying lengths to get his fix. I'm on my way to meet one of the hardest military men that has ever had the pleasure to serve under Her Majesty. He goes by the name of Spud.
I'm not quite sure what to expect from him or what I'm doing out here. I've been in this car for 3 fucking hours and I don't know where I'm being taken or what the fuck he wants me to do when I get there.
I have reason to worry. Spud could be the toughest geezer I'll ever meet.
I don't have any problems. I don't do any cock stands about killing somebody. All right, let's be clear about that.
This soldier of fortune lives off adrenaline, and to keep it flowing, he's lived more than half his life in war zones. He's survived the threat of mortar attacks and landmines, rockets and grenades. Countless times, Spud has done what he's had to save not only his life, but the lives of his fellow soldiers.
I don't fucking worry about it. I don't have nightmares. I don't go to the doctors claiming post-traumatic stress. And I don't care about the consequences either.
Spud started life as a paratrooper and then rose up the ranks of the military. He then trained hard to become a soldier in the world's toughest special forces unit, the Special Air Service, aka the SAS. The SAS was set up during the Second World War to do commando raids behind enemy lines.
And it was recognised that to do that you had to recruit a special kind of soldier. Physically, they're the toughest people you're going to meet, but they are sharp, very bright, adaptable, flexible. That's what makes them really different.
Using the skills he honed from being an elite soldier, today Spud works within the murky world of close protection, operating as a highly trained bodyguard.
You're out there to basically take money and keep your principal alive, keep the guy you're guarding alive, or whatever you are doing up there, you know, keeping yourself alive.
His battlefields are now closer to home, as current assignments involve him protecting the rich and famous on the streets of London.
He's just got to be really disciplined, one of them type of people. Total opposite to me, really. Look, I'm going to be straight with you now. I've had a bit of a late one. I feel a bit ropey. So, you know, I hope he just takes it nice and easy on me, because I'm really not up to much.
Turning up with a hangover for a date with an elite soldier may turn out to be the stupidest thing I'll ever do.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Right. Here we go. Beautiful countryside. Lovely old manor house. Let's see what this geezer's got to say, eh?
Hi.
Hello,
Danny.
mate.
How you doing, mate?
Spud? No?
Yes, mate, Spud.
Danny.
How you doing, mate? Pleasure.
Pleasure to meet you,
Yeah.
mate. Pleasure
How you
to
doing,
meet
all right?
you.
You
Good
good?
as gold, mate, yeah.
Yeah, excellent.
Come on, move it! Go!
Oh, mate, I knew something bad was going to happen. You're bang out of order. Oh, God. I don't know what's happened there, to be honest with you.
Well, that sets the scene up for today.
What's all these smoke bombs?
Smoke, that is, yeah. Smoke and a flashbang.
God, it's a bit early for smoke bombs, isn't it, my old son? Jesus Christ.
Do you know much about what I do? Or what I've done in the past?
Not too much, no.
No. All right, well, hopefully during the day we'll
Well, that's what I want to learn about that, you know.
Well, I thought this would just be a nice warmer for you, just to get the feel of it all.
Spud's agreed to give me some specialist military training here at this top secret facility. But to be honest, I was really worried about what that might involve.
Is it all right, walk through here? Is it going to kick off?
Yeah, no, it's all right. There's no booby traps.
I've come to this secret training facility to get some specialist military training from an ex-SAS soldier, Spud.
Spud? No?
Yes, mate, Spud.
It hasn't got off to a good start.
Pleasure.
Pleasure,
Yeah, excellent.
Spud was trying to use shock tactics to rattle me. And let me tell you, it's worked so far.
I knew something bad was going to happen. You're bang out of order.
He set up a day of exercises to give me a small glimpse into the sort of military training he does. And at the end of it, I will be given my very own mission. At the moment, it's all on a need-to-know basis, and if the way we met is anything to go by, I'm going to be the last to know anything.
Well, some proper weapons here, isn't it?
Yeah. They're from all over the world.
Oh, the big old guns here. What's this one over here?
This is the 7.62 SLR. She is beautiful. This is the one we went down the Falklands with.
Yeah.
And this was, I suppose, one of the main reasons why we won the battle down there, along with this 7.62 GPMG, which the British Army still use today.
It's a monster, that.
General purpose machine gun. Like I said, 7.62. It is a beauty. Yeah. You feel how heavy that is?
God, get hold of that, look.
Yeah.
Running along with that.
Plus, if you had a length of 200 with the ammunition strapped to it as well.
God, that's proper heavy, that is.
Yeah.
Unbelievable heavy that is.
The Falklands War was triggered by an invasion of the islands by Argentina in April 1982. Seen as an act of war by the British government, they swiftly sent in troops to defend the territory. And Spud, barely in his 20s, was sent over to serve with the 2nd Paras.
The Falklands was, as far as my soldiering experiences go, probably one of the best.
2 Para were one of the assault battalions which were first onto the beaches, fully tooled up, to show that we meant business.
Here, he was confronted with some of the bloodiest and most brutal battles of his military career.
I experienced the whole range of war, being shot at, being mortared, being shelled. I had the whole range of support weapons fired against me. And to top that off, I was napalmed.
Fighting on a couple of islands in the middle of the South Atlantic, it was almost like a cage fight. Close quarter combat with bayonets, rifle butts, fists, feet.
By the time Argentina surrendered, after 2 months of fighting, 655 Argentine and 255 British soldiers had lost their lives. The bloody Battle of Goose Green played a key role in the outcome of the Falklands. And Spud was in the thick of it.
They put me up the front, yeah. So I was point man for the Battle of Goose Green.
Okay.
For C Company 2 Para. Luckily, they shot up the guys behind me, yeah? So we lost a few of the guys.
It also left an everlasting scar on Spud. It was the first time he was forced to take another man's life.
So at the time we had 2 types of grenades. We had HE, high explosive grenades, conventional grenade, and we had WP grenade, white phosphorus. I phosphed one of the trenches, and there was a couple of RGs in there. One came out, and I slotted them with the SLR.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, this is the first weapon I killed a man with.
When you first killed a man, that was a gun
This
you
is
used,
the one,
yeah?
Yeah.
As that, listen, it's a mad question to ask you, but I mean, how does that make you feel? I mean, how did that feel when you first killed someone?
At the time, because I was like 20, 21, it's a cliched expression, but it's true. It's what you're trained to do. I don't have nightmares. I've killed a few people, men. I think any women.
No.
No. Certainly not children.
Let's say you can really prepare yourself, do all the training you want, can't you? But once you're actually...
Yeah, I know it affects a lot of guys. Set something off in their brain, they go, oh, fuck me, this is not for me.
I suppose it goes 2 ways. Either you go like that, it's not for you, or you get a right adrenaline rush out of it, you know what I mean?
Do. I mean, you do. You actually get a right buzz out of it, and it's very hard to calm down. I mean, I've been doing this almost 30 years now.
All this talk of killing was getting to me, so I needed a few moments to myself. This bloke is a lot tougher than I first thought. The fact that he talks about killing so casually is beginning to freak me out.
When you're fighting for your life, there's the ability of every human being, there's an instinct within them, survival, that's the strongest.
I'd read in one of Spud's books gruesome tales about the brutality of war. One in particular that I couldn't get out of my mind was when he had to use his head as a lethal weapon.
It's quite an heavy thing to talk about, you know what I mean? And this whole thing for me is an intense thing. I wanted you to try and tell me a little bit about when you had a moment in a trench with somebody, when you headbutted them, when you had your helmet on.
Yeah. Well, that's an intense, personal, one-to-one conflict with the enemy.
Yeah.
You don't think about it at the time, you just get on and do it.
I haven't really reflected on that story too much.
No?
No, because I think if I did, it might send me a bit fucking mad.
OK.
You know?
You know, I'm just trying to understand how soldiers can take someone's life, go home to the missus, switch off, be normal. I understand it's their job and all that, but, you know, it's got to fuck you up a little bit somewhere along the line. And I just don't think I could handle it.
Spud was a man who was happier keeping active than sitting around talking about the past, so I thought it was best to get back to the training. He wants me to know what it feels like to be a soldier, so it's time to dress the part.
SAS styling, running about, who'd have thought this?
Now, this gear may look good, but it's proper heavy.
Get on that, look.
Yeah, this is level 4. This will stop high velocity. You've got your grenades in here, your flashbangs, your CS gas, spare ammunition. You might have a Mars bar in there for after the job.
Yeah,
you know.
little Mars bar, treat yourself up, you wind out loads of geezers. Yeah, love it, love it.
Yeah, you got him. Breathe in.
Yeah, fuck where, yeah.
How does that feel now?
Fucking horrible.
Is that? Good.
Well.
That's the way it should be.
Where, yeah.
And I want you to shout in there, gas, 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 but shout it.
Gas, gas, gas!
No, I mean it. Gas, gas, gas!
Gas, gas, gas!
And then the helmet.
Let's have the helmet then.
Okay. But
Okay.
how does it feel at the moment?
I'm all right for the minute, but I can see...
To tell the truth, I was starting to feel a bit claustrophobic.
Just of having this thing on, mate,
Yeah,
it's so much difficult.
Yeah.
You've got no sense in
You've got to
nothing.
double-check everything when you've got that kit on. Double-check everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah?
Lovely jubbly. Let's go and have it then, Spud.
All right, then.
What are we going to do next?
Let's go and kill something.
Come on, let's have it.
Come on! Come on! Magazine! Magazine!
I'm not off to a good start. My gun has split in two and Spud's not happy.
Put it back on again. Put it on. Clean it off, get that shit out of it. Let's go, let's go! Come on, yeah, over the top. That's it, wait for Danny.
All this gear weighs nearly a stone. The vest is designed to stop knives, shrapnel, pistols, rifles and machine gun fire and anything else you can throw at it.
Come on, Danny, come on, that's it, mate. Over here. Now sprint. Through here, come on. In here, up the stairs. Come on, upstairs. Let's go.
Can't breathe.
You can't breathe. Don't take it off. Don't take your mask off. Keep it there.
That's fucking hard, mate.
No, don't, Danny.
Hold on.
Don't take it off, all right?
I'm going to spew me fucking ring up. That's really tough, man. I'll tell you what. I've just done fucking...
That's nothing.
Running about for 30 seconds and the whole weight of the gas mask. Tell you what, boys. It's made me feel proper sick.
Yeah.
The thought of having to go into battle after that.
Yeah.
I mean, these superhuman people.
Yeah, and sometimes you gotta be stuck for 30 minutes.
I'm not quite sure I'd cut it as a soldier. Spud, on the other hand, excelled as a paratrooper and always had more brains and ambition than the average grunt.
All I wanted to do was go to the next level. I think it was May 1980 with the Iranian embassy, and I saw these guys and that, you know, and they were the SAS.
On the 30th of April 1980, 6 armed men stormed the Iranian embassy in London.
In fact, what they did was started to kill hostages inside, and at that point the decision was made to send the SAS in.
5 of the 6 gunmen were killed. All but 2 of the 26 hostages were saved. A special force that had so far remained a secret exploded onto TV screens all over the world.
The SAS went into the Iranian embassy and kicked arse. They demonstrated that at least one Western government wasn't going to put up with this.
Gas-filled grenades are an occupational hazard on military operations. And because I'd ripped off my gas mask earlier, Spud wants to give me a little taste of what this CS gas can do to you.
Any good? This geezer is absolutely insane. He's sniffing CS gas, and he wants me to have an experience of it. I'm willing to get my hands dirty. Like I said before, you know, I want to be a man's man, so let's do it.
You let me know when you feel the effects of it.
Yeah.
Got him? You want any more, Danny?
Fuck that. Oh. Yeah. Oh. Do apologise to all my to my lady fans out there. If I broke the myth here, I apologise. That is fucking hard. That is horrible. That is fucking horrible, mate.
Well, let's talk me then. My gas mask will be staying firmly in place.
Fuck that, Spud. Fuck that. No more of that game. I can't be doing that no more.
For this operation, we want to do...
Spud was part of an anti-terrorism team that conducted clandestine missions all over the world. In the age of terrorism, a major part of his training involved the ability to rescue hostages. Spud has set up a scenario like that for me today.
Yeah. Bit nerve-wracking, to be honest with you. This is another level. This really is something I've never experienced before in my life. And obviously I haven't had that much training. Spud's been great with me, but, you know, it's frightening, mate. Take it very seriously, these people. Violence, guns, killing. And you've got to try and get on their vibe a little bit, you know? They'll eat you for breakfast.
All right, guys, quick, listening. Briefing room now. Job on.
It's not quite on the same scale as the Iranian embassy, but one of my men has been captured by the enemy.
You know the score. We got a suspect terrorist holding a definite hostage. Not more than 50 metres from here. Mission is to save the life of the hostage. What's the mission, Danny?
Save the life of the hostage.
All right, mate.
This may only be a practice run, but my nerves are very real. Everything Spud taught me is racing through my mind.
Take your fucking gun, Danny.
No, I'll leave it there.
Danny, no.
I'm gonna...
Mission we want to do instinctive. Stop it!
Breathe all right?
Yeah.
My job as team leader is to throw a grenade and then secure the room. I was about to receive a brutal lesson in the reality of being a soldier.
Room clear!
What happened there?
He shot me.
Who said room clear?
Me. I shot him.
Was the room clear?
No, but I shot him.
Did you check him?
I didn't check him, no.
No.
I fucking put about 5 bullets in
Did
there.
you? Yeah, well, don't fucking matter. You've got to check him.
He's a
okay?
strong
Yeah, what you've got to do is double tap him in the head.
So we've just been bump, bump.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Fuck.
Always confirm he's dead. All right? I don't care if it's a woman or a kid with a gun. If they're after you to kill you, they kill you. You make sure they're dead before you scream room clear.
Okay.
All right?
Freaked me out, mate, I
Yeah.
tell you. It's intense, it's intense stuff, mate. The adrenaline pumping through my body like you wouldn't believe.
Oh,
well, you know the
yeah.
game. You know your game, didn't you?
Yeah.
I got shot though, I fucked it. I didn't put 2 in his fucking canister, did I? I should have popped 2 off in his nut, but I've called room clear. There's so much to think about, it's unbelievable. You know what it's been around these boys, it's mad when you run around talking to villains, gangsters, this, that and the other, about bravado. With these boys really aren't a real deal. I'm not undermining anyone I've interviewed in the past, but these boys are just solid, you know, just men's men. They will kill people, put 2 shots in your head, won't think twice about it. So, you know, you try and be, you know, you try and have a bit of bollocks around them. But I'll tell you what, fucking my back's killing me. I've only had the fucking gear on for a few hours. I feel fucking terrible. I feel like sobbing me heart out, that's the honest truth. The adrenaline's pumping through my body, all right?
I'd had a taste of the physical skills required to be an elite soldier, but was soon to realise that mental strength is even more important. So far, I've gotten to play soldier and execute my very own secret mission.
These boys really aren't a real deal.
And I was given a small taste of army life. Spud is starting to give me a first-hand insight into the mind of one of the deadliest soldiers to serve under Her Majesty. I wanted to find out a bit more about Spud's life as a soldier, so I've asked him to take me around the army base where he first got a taste for life in the military. Now, I've never been to an army base before in my life. I haven't got a clue what goes on here. To be honest, it's a bit barren and desolate. It gives me the fucking horrors. For nearly 50 years, Aldershot was used for the training and deployment of one of the toughest regiments in the world, the Paras. In 1999, the Paras moved to Colchester after the disbandment of the 5th Airborne Brigade. But this was Spud's first home as a soldier. It's great, though, isn't it?
No, it's fucking horrible. It brings back some memories. No, there was none of these lovely, fluffy bushes. It was just fucking bleak.
This is where you lived then, is it?
Yeah, this first floor it was.
Yeah, let's go in.
Oh, fuck me, carpet.
There was no carpet when you was here,
no
son, no?
carpet, no. Stairs.
So they've got luxury of carpet now. Was this your manor then, was it? So.
Ablutions? I don't know if they were there. Well, they ain't changed much.
All right, boys.
Yes.
How you doing, mate? All right.
You don't mind if we come in? That's the room we need to go in.
This room?
That was my room 26 years ago. Yeah.
Probably not his dad then.
Oh,
Well, these were 8-men rooms. Is it okay? Can I just...
Got a double bed, look, and everything, look. How's that make you feel, Spud? They've got double beds now and everything, look.
Luxury. Luxury.
After his basic training was complete, Spud was sent off to Belfast to get his first taste of war. In 1979, Northern Ireland was at the height of its violent troubles. Spud was sent on a 2-year tour as British forces served as peacekeepers between the Unionists and the Nationalists. Here, he was confronted with the reality of an urban war zone. A place where bombs explode and bullets fly.
Whatever you see on the news clips and read about Northern Ireland, you had to be there to understand and comprehend what it was all about, especially where we were posted to in the bandit country, the border part, South Armagh. People were seeing the bombs go off in the city every day, but to actually understand what it was like on the border there, I mean, that was real soldiering. And it was just constant threat all the time, and stress. And we were constantly getting shot at. Guys were dying, for Christ's sake.
4,000 people were killed during the Northern Ireland Troubles. Nearly half of those were innocent civilians. This is the first time Spud has returned to Belfast in almost 29 years. He finished his tour of duty in 1981 and vowed never to go back. He's come to visit his old mate and fellow soldier, Graham, with whom he served with back in the day. These guys have been through a lot together.
Spud's had more adrenaline buzzes over the years than what I have. And can he do without it? I don't know. I hope for Spud's sake that he can. But as I say, it's to people in our situations who have experienced, it's probably a worse drug than heroin because it's probably just as addictive.
You know, coming from the airport, I was still on edge, really. I mean, because it's so strange to be driving around during the daylight hours. I mean, I know it sounds bizarre now, but that's what it just makes me feel on edge, you know?
The country is changing rapidly. There's millions being pumped into this place.
Spud and Graham were based at Falk Hill, but were sent on operations all around the southern border.
What you got to remember is this area was controlled by the IRA. I mean, it's this bandit country. You couldn't move anywhere here. We didn't have enough troops to saturate the area, and as you can see, it's rural.
The Kilner-Saget Bridge is on the main line to Belfast and was one of the most bombed bridges during the Northern Ireland conflict.
I mean, as you can see, there's bullet marks here, strike marks. There's one there. Yeah. There's here.
There's quite a few over here.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We had an ambush here, and about 3 o'clock in the morning. And we had a car pull up. So basically what he was doing was obviously doing a recce, yeah? To see if we reacted, if there was any troops there to react.
The rules of engagement were to only fire if fired upon.
And then all of a sudden, they let rip, we let rip, and then they disappeared off. And this is in seconds. What they did find was they found a balaclava, a shotgun, and 2 blood trails heading off this direction to the south, and a half-eaten cheese sandwich.
Sometimes they got lucky, sometimes we got lucky.
Yeah, well, you know what I think of the bloody kill on the Saggart Bridge, don't you? I'm going to leave my mark.
Last time they were here, they were under fire, so naturally they're still on their guard.
But I don't have any great desire to hang around here, to be quite honest with you.
An official ceasefire was declared by both sides in April 1998, known as the Good Friday Agreement. With this in place, things are a lot calmer in these parts now, but 2 ex-army guys in a car with a camera crew is very dangerous.
If we get flagged down to stop, don't stop, OK? All right, seriously, you know, don't stop. If somebody flags you down, oh, somebody blocks you, don't fucking stop. I'm serious, you know, I'm not fucking no duff.
As they approach their old base at Falk Hill, I uncover a side to Spud that I'd never seen before. He starts to show some cracks.
No, I don't feel good at all. I don't feel good at all. I want to fuck off somewhere. Thank you. Because I still don't know. I know the area's quieting down a hell of a lot, but there's always, you know.
Even myself, being a local man, you know, it's not part of Northern Ireland. I just can't see it as being Northern Ireland. It's strange.
So we need to shoot off, I think, before somebody mobiles through to let them know that there's a camera.
His time in Falk Hill is clearly part of his life he wants to forget.
I never left the vehicle when I was here 20, 30 years ago, and I fucking ain't gonna do it today.
From what I've seen and heard so far, I can't even imagine the horrors that these 2 men have experienced. Spud and Graham were involved in one horrific incident with their fellow soldier, Tom. Tom was part of an army truck convoy that was travelling through the Warren Point area close to the border in the south.
A Land Rover got through, the first 4-tonner got through, and as we came through, there was a rumble and a flash.
The convoy had been struck by a roadside bomb.
Carnage, really. That's all it was, carnage. I knew I'd been blown up, but I didn't know to what extent. And after, it felt like a minute, the penny dropped, your legs are on fire, and then I couldn't move. It just totally paralysed.
Spud was part of an emergency response team called to the scene.
Until it actually happens to you, you think it's a game. But you don't believe death is there until you actually see it and smell it.
This would be an IRA attack like no other. They had a second bomb waiting, right where the British Army had set up their command post.
The next thing I really remember is being lifted onto the chopper, and we'd just basically lifted off when it happened all over again. The second explosion went off.
With 18 dead, Warren Point was the highest military death toll in one single incident during the entire Northern Ireland conflict. This is the first time the 3 men have been back to the site together. Spud was ordered to clean the incident of human remains, the remains of his fellow soldiers.
Oh, I remember thinking, this is fucking outrageous, you know. And everybody was going around thinking, well, who's been hit? Who's dead? Who's alive? Well, we were down there about 3 days, weren't we? 3 or 4 days. And every day went by, there was somebody else coming up with a piece of body, somebody's, you know, extraordinary face of someone, you know. Over the last 30 years, I've been in lots of explosions and seen the aftermath of lots of incidents, you know, involved bombs and IEDs. And there's one thing that always brings me back to Warren Point. And I picked up a leg. And I've never forgot that sock. It was a boot with an army sock, of course, one of our lads.
War zones like this are places where only the toughest are brave enough to enter, but sadly not all come back alive. All would come back, changed forever. Tom suffered horrific burns to 80% of his body and spent 6 months in hospital fighting for his life.
When I saw Tom there, almost dead, how did I feel? Well, I just felt I was so fucking lucky. And the irony of that statement is Tom said he was lucky, and he feels for the people that died on that incident, and I feel for the guys that were injured, you know? Because how you deal with an injury like that for the rest of your life, I don't think I would have been strong enough.
What Spud saw in Northern Ireland changed him in ways that even he can't explain. But he does know that it made him a better soldier.
At such a young age, having that experience, a mass bombing, you know, mass killing was just unbelievable. And seeing your mates scattered body parts all over, yeah, that pretty much says to you, fucking start switching on now, you know. And from that point on, I learned what war was all about. And I guess to some extent that's why I've survived, in a sense, because I actually learn from past, you know, from past experiences. And I've been awfully lucky. I've had people die to the left of me, die to the right of me, and I've still stood.
Comrades. Okay, cheers, Spud. Well on comrades, mate.
I've lost as many good friends as I've killed the enemy.
We went to a military cemetery where many of Spud's friends who had given the ultimate sacrifice were buried. Looking around me at all these crosses, it suddenly dawned on me that each one represents a life unfulfilled. Someone's son, someone's husband, someone's father.
This is where the families wanted wanted the fallen to be buried, here in Aldershot. Some of them chose to keep them buried on the island, some buried in their hometowns and villages, and some families didn't have the choice because the Royal Navy, they were buried at sea.
Did you lose a lot of friends then?
Yeah, I can just see Paul Sully over there, Paul Sullivan.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's one. Yeah, Tom Meekham, yeah.
Yep.
He was a good old dude, good mate of mine.
None of them really over 30 years of age, you know?
Hold it.
Yeah.
I closed his eyes. Shit, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Where he had fallen, his eyes were still open. I closed his eyes. Oh, that's strange.
He was 21, him.
Was he? No, he was older than that.
23,
surely.
I think this is 20.
No, you're right, 21.
21, yeah.
And these guys are good soldiers, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't just scraping through, they were good soldiers. There you go.
So I mean, what's it? A lot of it's down to luck, isn't it? Really, if you think about it. I mean, because you can be the greatest soldier, but yet, you know, you
turn the wrong way.
You turn the wrong way. You know what I mean? It's over. You know, you don't get no second chances.
You don't,
obviously.
No. You're dead, mate.
Hey, how would you say your job affects your personal life? You know, or how did it affect your personal life?
Well, I've been married twice.
Yep.
I love both my wives, but they left me, so I guess it's something I've got to look at and try and address.
I suppose it's got to be hard juggling the two, really, isn't it? You know, you're going to commit to the army and...
It's difficult being away. I mean, not only the army, the business I'm in, 30 years of this, you know, this nonsense, death and destruction. I guess it does affect you sometime.
I feel a shiver down my spine. Some of these blokes were as young as 17 when they lost their lives in the line of fire. And I don't even want to think about the way they died.
Don't want to end up like these poor boys. I've got a bit more living to do.
I've been on a roller coaster ride so far. I've been pushed to my physical limit. And I've heard about some of the mental scars that can be left after fighting on the front line. One thing is clear to me. Spud has spent his life constantly seeking adrenaline. My journey into the mind of a highly trained soldier is nearing its end, but Spud has one more place to take me. For me, Mayfair's the most expensive stop on a Monopoly board. For most, it's all about rollers, Bentleys and three-piece suits.
But if you dig a little deeper, there's a lot more going on that meets the eye. It's a place where the rich and famous get up to a little bit of mischief. And when the shit hits the fan, they need a bit of protection. That's where our boy Spud comes in.
He continues to put his life at risk by working in the close protection industry. Working as a soldier of fortune can get just as hairy as a war zone. Spud had one particular job in July 2005, protecting an Arab businessman who'd got himself in a spot of bother over money.
We realised that he'd fucked off a lot of people.
Right.
The Russians, some Turks, and a mixture of some other people from the Middle East. Luckily, I found that out earlier on and got myself tooled up.
It resulted in a gunfight in broad daylight on a London street.
What, it was an old-school Western shootout, was it?
Yeah, a little bit. They basically tried to ram us and fucking screamed back and shunted this 4x4 vehicle.
Yeah.
And then they started fucking pinging off a couple of rounds at us. Well, I then had to shoot back, and then we just fucked off.
OK.
What we call shoot and scoot.
Shoot and scoot. Fuck that.
It's not just businessmen that Spud looks after. He's brought me to a popular London nightclub to tell me how he protects celebrity clients when they hit the town.
But there wouldn't be an obvious threat, would there? There wouldn't be an... like, you couldn't walk into a club and
No,
go...
but we'll have sleepers in here as well.
Sleepers.
We'll have girl sleepers, we'll have men sleepers.
What does that mean, sleeper?
Well, there'd be one of our team acting as part of the crowd.
Ah, OK, so you would have no contact with him throughout the night? You know that obviously...
No, we wouldn't even eyeball them, no. We'd just treat them like the rest of the crowd.
OK,
yeah?
gotcha.
We stand off, let them get on with it, yeah, and we'll have a team outside, and that's the way it works.
Okay.
If it does kick off, come in mob banded.
Yeah, you've got... Yeah.
And all you do, you're the important thing. We just take you out of this, take you out of the situation. All right.
That is a lovely old chandelier, that, though.
Yeah, you wouldn't
But it could be a threat. You never know. There might be a little there.
You wouldn't want that
jump
dropping on your head, would you?
Jump down, get you around the neck. You never know. You never know.
I'd certainly feel safe if he was watching my back, but defending people from chandelier ambushes isn't quite enough to keep Spud satisfied. He seeks the adrenaline that only a war zone can provide.
Companies aligned to the UK government, which employed people from my background, to go and do jobs, well, they call them out-of-area operations, to do jobs which i.e. the SAS couldn't do, or the British government couldn't be seen to be doing politically. The risk factor was always there. You're out on a limb, so that's quite exciting.
30 years spent in war zones must have messed with his head a bit, and I wonder how he's going to cope without the adrenaline buzz that he seems to crave. For a lot of Spud's mates, it's when they return to civvy life and have time to stop and think. It's only then that the memories come back to haunt them.
I think that maybe blokes don't know how to deal with it, you know? It's easy to go and hit the bottle and go and blow your brains out. I mean, looking at the Falklands, there's been more guys taking their life than what there were killed. 253, I think, died on the operation, and more than 270 have killed themselves, taken their own life. I mean, that's a pretty fucked up situation, isn't it? I'm lucky because I think I've kept constantly in a war zone.
Spud's addiction to adrenaline has cost him 2 marriages, but his daughter may just be the one person who can help him kick his habit.
Having a daughter's changed me, but actually, over the last couple of years, the realisation that possibly I may need her more than she needs me at the moment may be an excuse to stop doing what I've been doing.
Back at his home, Spud keeps his obsession alive by writing books about the thing he knows best: war. It's as if he's still there as he relives and reconstructs the battles that he's won and lost.
I want to carry on writing. I enjoy writing, it's very therapeutic for me. And when I write, I have to be in the elements. You know, I can go out here and it may sound a bit strange to you guys, but when it's pissing down with rain, I'll go and stand by a tree. Because that's the way you feel nature.
Without a doubt, the internal battles still rage in Spud's mind. But the question remains, will he ever find peace?
Well, it's been an interesting journey, you know. Amazing character, you know, tough nut to crack. The thing about this guy is, I mean, you got to think about it, this man survived. He's been in 9 wars, you know, survived them all.
A tradition of many soldiers is that they keep the pin to the first grenade they pull. So I was touched when Spud had a little surprise for me.
What's this here?
Your first flashbang grenade.
Oh, good boy.
I saved it for you.
Oh, good boy.
That is good luck. So if you ever do any war movies in the future, you've got to put that to your zipper.
Oh, good man,
and I
thank
bring
you.
good luck, mate.
Appreciate that.
All right.
You mind how you go?
You take care as well.
See you later.
Cheers, mate.
I'm Danny Dyer. Playing hard men and acting tough has been my bread and butter. But now I've got a new role. I'm going to be tracking down some of the most feared men in the country on both sides of the law. I'm going to find out what makes them tick, how they got their fearsome reputations, and why they're considered some of Britain's deadliest men. This is my manor. I've heard a lot of stories about East End villains.
If it was big crowds, we'd use a double-barrel shotgun.
This guy, Vic Dark, is as hard as they come.
We didn't really give a shit about anyone.
You just mention his name, people quiver.
Don't upset him because he just take your head off.
I've heard he bench presses 160. That's 2 of me. And he loves guns.
The copper's sitting next to me. I've got the gun in his neck like that.
He's a man of honour. But if you cross him, you're gone.
I'm back in my own manor, London's East End. For much of its history, it was the centre of the capital's criminal underworld. It's my home turf, but will it be my toughest job yet? This is not just a birthplace of the chirpy Cockney and jellied ills. As well as being my manor, it was the home to a certain Victor Dark, one of the East End's most feared armed robbers. Had it been a life of glamour, or would I find that his crimes have haunted his entire life?
The East End's a dark place, and there's a lot of tough neighbourhoods. Me and Vic are 30 years apart, but both being hammers, I'm hoping we're going to have something in common. I'm going to try and get inside his head, but I'm not sure I'm going to like what I see.
He's the kind of character I get asked to play in films, but this is my chance to meet the real McCoy. He believed in hitting them hard and hitting them fast, and he's got a rap sheet as long as my arm to prove it. From 1974 to 1988, he carried out hundreds of raids on security vans, banks, post offices, and even a packed nightclub. He wasn't the kind to plan big jobs like the Great Train Robbery, and he never scooped as much as the legendary Brink's Mat job. He was all about the smash and grab, organised chaos more than organised crime. But it led him to spend 21 years in the slammer. I don't want to cross him, so I'm going to play it easy.
All right, Vic?
All right, Dan, mate.
All right, mate, all right.
Brings back a few memories, Canning Town, doesn't it?
And you don't live around here no more, do you?
No, I wouldn't live around here, pain me, Dan.
No?
No, never been in fucking years.
No?
No, you're joking.
Nowadays, he doesn't make his money out of crime. Using his name and reputation, he's a legalised debt collector, and that reputation is pretty nasty.
We used to have a little bottle of pneumonia, which is like if I squirted you, you're there sort of blind just sort of for a few days or a couple of hours.
This would be innocent bank tellers. Even his closest friends know they shouldn't mess with him.
There is people out there he hasn't got respect for, and then people just stay away. Just totally stay away. I don't get frightened too much, but if I was one of them, I'd be frightened, very frightened. And I said to him, what happened if you get these heroes to come up to try and stop you? He said, in his own words, I'll blow their fucking head off.
I always remember, what's his name, summed him up, was Charles Bronson, you know, not the actor Charles, but, you know, Charles Bronson and Nick. And he said, Rick Dark is the real McCoy. He is.
In 1974, at the age of 17, Vic earned his notoriety as the leader of the Sledgehammer Gang. So called because of the way they smashed down the cashier's screens of banks and post offices.
We just pull up here with a car, say 4 of us will get out, no, 3 of us will get out, it'll be a geezer driver. Yep. Then all of a sudden, we just walk straight across there, Sledgehammer, the guns, walk straight into there when it's the most busiest time. Take down the screens, get behind the screens. We used to have big bags at the time, Dan, like we used to come across, they show big, they're like post office bags, great big bags. And when we got behind the tills, my mate would be the littlest one. He'd either get the door open and just chucking all the money in the bags.
Straight in, yeah.
Yeah, that's how we used to do it. So we didn't really give a shit about anyone.
Yeah.
We was in there for 5 minutes, just clearing out all the money. Then we'd just come straight out of here, get back in the cars and drive off.
In and out 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's it, that was it.
Every till would have 10 grand behind it, and they'd pick the busiest times to crash in.
Surprises me that you obviously going in there when it's just, you know, when it's the most busy. You know, I would have thought you'd wait for it to calm down, but obviously it makes sense because that's when the most does there, obviously.
There will be guns firing everywhere, warning shots over people's heads, panic all over the place.
What they didn't like, the robbery squad, because we were so young, we was only like 20 years old. Obviously, we're coming into banks and sorting offices, like big post offices, steaming straight in, nicking all the wedge out of it and coming straight out. They were saying we didn't give a fuck for no one. Literally, we had confrontations with people, obviously a few times.
I mean, how many would you keep it to a minimum? I mean, how many would you do a month, a week? I mean, you would never do 2 in a day, would you? Would that be taking a piss?
3.
3 in a day?
I was just beginning to see why he'd got his reputation. 3 lots of innocent people a day, terrorised with ammonia, sledgehammers and guns. Not nice. These raids went on for 4 years, until the law finally caught up with him in 1978. Vic Dark was one of the most prolific armed robbers this country has ever seen. Hundreds of banks, security vans and post offices raided and thieved from.
He's exactly the sort of person you don't want to piss off. If you do meet him, you better not cross him. He's a lovely fella, but you don't want to see him flip.
Because if he flipped, he might let off one of these. Like every workman, Vic had his tools. People didn't just hand over the cash to him. He held them up. He intimidated them. He pointed loaded guns at them and threatened to take their lives.
If it was big crowds, we'd use a double-barrel shotgun, which is like sort of snoring off, which is like looks the part. Or if it was like quick robberies, like security vans, it'd be handguns. With shotguns, there was more frightening, really. So the bigger the crowds, like a big sorting office, it would be like a sawing-off shotgun. To get through the screens, we'd use hammers, big sledgehammers. Obviously, the guns I fired off was over people's heads, you know, so it wasn't at the people. I'd done martial arts for a long time. It's like when they kick, you go, ugh! It's just like bang, you go, ugh! So it's just to make them jump, really. Not like obviously, once you fire a gun into someone, once again, you're going to kill them, aren't you? I've not gone with the intention to shoot anyone, you know, so I mark that's quite clear in the robber's code. You don't go and shoot people.
Robber's code or not, I can't help thinking that the people at the other end of the gun probably thought their life was over. I could see he knew what he was talking about. Now, I've played my fair share of villains in films, but didn't really know how it was done. He joined me opposite this bank to give me the inside track.
Do you plot up in a little cafe opposite, or, I mean, what do you do, a couple of days before, or...?
No, what it is, a lot of people do fall over, because what happens, they go and plot something up a couple of days before, all they do, they run back to CVTV and they say, who's in the area, who was here at this time.
So you're best off, what, a couple of months before, or...?
Yeah, about a month before.
About a month,
but yeah,
yeah.
6 weeks. And then come back, just do a little fly one, just one person, make sure everything's still the same.
Yeah.
And then come back, that's how you do it, really.
Would he now be doing anything else differently from the 70s?
Well, basically, it's the sort of same methods. Balaclava helmets or anything with identity, gloves, you know, sort of like thin leather gloves or anything what you wouldn't leave fingerprints about. You've just got to be a little bit more aware of the cameras, a little bit aware of, like, leaving DNA. And obviously, you know, if you discharge a firearm or anything like that, it would go up your nose, like residue.
What's the different approaches to, obviously, a bank and, you know, a van? There's
different approaches to every kind of robbery. A bank's a sort of solid, so you know you're going to go in there, might be 6 or 7 tills, if the safe's open. But the actual security vans works on speed, you know, like the guard gets out, pang, you're out the back of the vehicle, bang, you've got him straight away. Or if you're going to take on the big, heavy-duty one, you're going to stop the van, get in the back of the van, or do you know what I mean? So it depends. Every robbery's so different from each one.
How many people do you got to work with? I mean, obviously you've got people allocated different jobs. I mean, you've got the brains, you've got the, I don't know, the brawn. I mean, how would it work?
If you're in with the chaps and like the arm robber weld type of thing, you would know who's good at who. Obviously, a very short list of people.
Yeah.
But if someone's going to have a van and you want a professional person who's good at the van, you pick him out and go on a bit of work with him. Or if you want to do a big sorting office, a big post office, you'll be going to work on sort of, you know, that type of people who are good at what they do.
I knew that Vic had been good at what he'd done, but I also knew that the law had eventually caught up with him. In total, Vic spent 21 years of his life behind bars. That's more than half his adult life. In 1978, he went down for the armed robberies. It wasn't his first time inside, but it was his first long sentence.
I've done 4 months for an ABH. I've done 3 years for a stabbing, GBH. I've done 12 years for a bank, 3 sorting offices and a security van. I've been in most prisons around the country, mostly up north. Even Pentonville I was in when I was a kid. Albany, Parkhurst, Lincoln, Durham, False Sutton, Frankland, Long Larton, Strangeways, Walton, Belmarsh, Scrubs, Wandsworth, Brixton. Just keeps going on. Nearly every prison in the system.
But his longest sentence was still to come. He gets out in 1986, but it's not long before his addiction to crime gets him into trouble again, and this time it will be the stuff of legend. Sometimes it only takes one night, one misjudgment, and you're facing a 15-year sentence.
The news from ITM. In the early hours of this morning, he and his accomplice, both armed with handguns, raided a nightclub in Ilford and shot the owner, who's now in hospital after having surgery.
I got shot in the hand, I got shot in the groin, and I got shot through the arm.
The Penthouse nightclub, Ilford, September 1988. It's 3 a.m. Vic's brought an accomplice with him to help on the job.
I was bored. That's how it all starts. I'm bored. You know what I mean? I'm a bit trigger happy, a bit bored, taking on. It didn't really matter what I'd done. I could do security vans, banks, sorting offices. Didn't really matter to me. Up and down, it could be anything. Anything where there was money, it'd be there. I'll go and do it. That's what it was about.
He's bored, and there's 30 grand in this club. Vic and his accomplice get let in the back door by someone on the inside. They hide in a back room, waiting for a signal to move.
You sort of stand there, all getting ready, got the stuff on. So you put the mask on, you're just waiting. All of a sudden, then it happens, and you go, you hear. That means give him 10 minutes to get out of the gaff, then I'm coming out.
He gives his accomplice what he thinks is a simple job.
All he's got to do is get the money and rip the phones out. That's all he's got to do. Yeah. Anyway, it goes, bang. What I've got to do now, the first thing I'll do, I've got to get everyone under control, meaning I've got to wrap them all, or get them all together, wrap them up, have the money slip off. That's what was supposed to happen. Nice and easy, well, you know, what goes on next is unbelievable.
But his accomplice doesn't get the phones off, and the old Bill are called. They surround the place. There's over 100 punters still in the club. Vic's got them lying on the floor, but the place is panicked.
Everyone's running everywhere. Now, you imagine you've got 120 people running fucking everywhere, right? So I've got them all down in here.
It's at this point in the story where we see Vic turn. He takes the owner of the club and makes him kneel in the centre of the dance floor holding a gun to his head.
The paramount thought that I had is just how helpless I was. If they want to kill you, they want to kill you. I grabbed what might or might not have been the gun, and of course it was a gun, and it went off actually in my hand. I was holding the barrel, and when it came down, I got shot in the stomach as well. You don't feel anything when you get shot.
In the scuffle, the bullet passes through the club owner into the shoulder of Vic's accomplice.
My mate gets shot, the bullet goes through his arm, through here, out of his back, right? He's like blood spurting everywhere. It's like an heartbeat. It's going...
There were 2 injured men, but Vic was only concerned about his accomplice, not the club manager.
I lost a lot of blood and apparently caused a blood shortage in Essex and very nearly died.
David's condition was critical. I can't imagine what it must be like to be shot 3 times. Vic wasn't interested, though. He still had a long night ahead.
I've got 2 options. Take my clothes off, put my natural clothes back on, walk out, no, I'll get away. Or do I have to carry this, my mate, and get him away?
So Vic takes his accomplice and carries him out, leaving behind 100 stunned clubbers, the wounded owner, and all the cash. It's been a total disaster, but it's not over yet.
As I'm getting here, Dan, right, I'm carrying my mate now, got him like this, like that. So I've got this thing like that. As I carry like that, as I go like that, a police car goes bang, just pulls in front of me. I haven't got to the car. I can't get to the car. Police car there, police car there. I told the copper, I said, get out of the car. I didn't want the copper, I wanted the car to put my mate in the car. I'd been critically injured, like, you know. So I just got my mate in the car. Then I looked, I thought, oh, fuck it. I got the copper, he got back, I've got to put the copper back in the car. Then we're off.
This is the moment that catapulted Vic from armed robber to police hostage taker, making him, in the eyes of the law, one of the most dangerous men in the country.
The old genuine's racing. So what you imagine, I'm sitting there like that, I'm in the car, the copper's sitting next to me, I've got the gun in his neck like that. So as I said to the geezer, I said to him, you fucking drive, right? And he went, all right. As I've gone like that to take the gun off his neck to see if my mate was all right, there's a loud explosion. As the explosion went, the glass fell out, obviously the gun had gone off.
The police are in pursuit, so Vic points his gun at his cop hostage and gets him to call off the chase. He realises he's going to have to change cars, and they pull into a random side street, knock at a door, and an Irishman answers.
He goes in, gets the keys, comes out. Instead of taking the keys and walking away, he tries to give me the keys. But as he tries to give me the keys, I can't take the keys, I've got 2 handguns. I've got a handgun in each hand. So the Irishman looked at me, I looked at him, and now he's looked at me, and he knows, he's seen the guns. I thought, so I said to him, right, you're coming with me, mate.
Hostage number 2, and unfortunately for Vic, the Irishman's wife calls the police and tells them what's happened. Soon, he's got the armed response team on his tail.
I'm heavily outnumbered, heavily outgunned. I've got a wounded man. He's proper on me now, right? I still will not give up on my mate. I mean, no one in England has ever took out a geezer out a surrounded building you see surrounded by police.
Vic drops his accomplice at a safe house where he stays hidden. He's never caught by the police, but for Vic, it's a different story. The chase is taken out to rural Essex. The car crashes. Vic runs out and hijacks another car.
They forced a Vietnamese restaurant worker to drive them further.
Did you believe he would kill you?
I think sometime he might shoot me.
So what I did, I turned around and went, not at them, I went bang, bang, over the top of their heads. But I don't know what's happened. Then all of a sudden I see back, like yellow flashes, you know what I mean? Obviously, they're firing back at me, but I weren't trying to hurt them. Anyway, I was over there, so I just dug a big hole, got a few plants, put them on my head and all that, laid there, right? Now, they know I'm in the fields. They know I'm here somewhere, but they don't know where. And so I just laid there. Then they come back through again. Now this is for nearly 6 hours. Then all of a sudden I get a bit panicked. I thought to myself, I get a thing called hypothermia, where I'm in the earth, it's soaking wet. I started really shaking, do you know what I mean?
And with that, Vic had had enough. He crawled out of the muddy hole to face the music.
Just over there, I stood up, and then that was it then. And I walked out, it was about fucking 150 coppers that day. I come out with my hands up, and then...
There's just nowhere to go, was there, really?
Nah, I was fucked, I was bottled in. But they said to me, when I got back to the police station, if I stayed there for another hour, they were gone. They thought I lost me, yeah. So if I just stayed for another hour, I would never got nicked.
That night of crime cost Vic a 15-year sentence, and for his victim, it changed his life forever.
It's a cowardly way and it's a lazy way to just try and pinch what somebody else has got, especially I'm running a one-man operation. I mean, it virtually put me out of business.
David spent 5 agonising weeks in hospital trying to recover from his gunshot wound.
And I remember when I got home, eventually, and I couldn't get out of the car. I couldn't lift my leg up. And people don't realise these sort of things.
Vic had shot and injured an innocent person and taken a copper hostage. I wasn't surprised he was to have a difficult ride in jail. At the age of 31, Vic started his sentence as a top security category AA prisoner with terrorists and murderers as companions. For much of that time, Vic was thrown into what they call the blocks, in the segregation unit. He was on his own for months at a time.
I've been in segregation units for many years, and I've been down there for months, and I've been pushed to the limits, where they play about with your food, head games, don't let you out on exercise, they just like absolutely push you to the limits, turn the eating off, you're sleeping in your clothes, putting things in your food so you can't eat it, cockroaches or things or anything they can find, you know, and it's a proper head game in the prison system. And if they don't like you, you go into the blocks, and that's where most of the beatings take place. People will be beaten up really bad in the units, which I've been beaten up quite a few times. Had my leg, I had to walk on crutches for nearly, I think, a month, and then I couldn't walk properly for about a year, where it hit my ankle with a truncheon. So basically, I've seen brutality done to myself and many other prisoners.
I couldn't help thinking that prison isn't meant to be nice for criminals who hold guns to people's heads. But it had really affected Vic. He told me a story of his friend coming off hunger strike.
Something what really shook me and brought tears to my eyes. I was in a place called Full Sutton. I was doing a 15 then, and there was an old boy. His name, I'm going to say his name was Ronnie, an old boy. He was on hunger strike. He'd been on hunger strike for about nearly 3 months. So you imagine his bag of bones.
Yeah.
I remember this great big screw walking up, undoing his door with his dinner, and I see him standing out and go in his food. And then I see that Ronnie, a 63-year-old man weighing about 7 stone, stand there and eat his food in front of the screw. I mean, how brave is that? I mean, it made me... I had tears in my eyes, mate.
Yeah.
I mean, when you see things like that, and then you've got the prison system, humanity, they don't know the fucking word then. Don't fucking know the word, mate.
Nah. What would you say how it is now, the prison system now? I mean, obviously you ain't been there in a while, but... I mean, from what you had to deal with and from what it is now, I mean, would you say it's worse or...?
No, I just think these silly c***s who turn around and say, it's easy, it's like an holiday camp in prison. Yeah, for the cat sees. I mean, I talk about the cat A's who banged up 23 hours a day. Well, they might have their telly now, but it don't matter, they don't get out of their cells. No. I mean, I talk about cat I was a cat A for nearly 10 years. So what I'm saying, it's close to my heart. It's OK for these knobs to get on telly and say, and say it's an holiday camp, it's this and that, but not for cat A.
Vic Dark, a bank robber, armed to the hilt with sawn-off shotguns, a hostage taker, and a man who's done 21 years porridge. During that time, he'd met some men that are still his mates today.
Vic's invited me to a barbecue. Now, he's told me these are the real Essex boys, yeah? So, hanging out with hooligans is one thing, but these guys are serious. I don't want to end up in a country lane, you know what I mean? See what these boys have got to say.
Unlike Vic, most of this lot haven't been inside.
Pleasure to meet you, old son. Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah.
Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. I'm a friend of Vic's, mate.
How you doing?
How you doing, son? Yeah.
Pleasure to meet you. Good as gold. Thank you. Thank you.
I am as well, mate.
Good man. Good to meet you, mate. Pleasure. All right, mate? How are you? You all right?
This is Gavin. He was inside for manslaughter at Maidstone Prison.
Yeah, no, good as gold, mate.
Did you want a beer?
Good. I've got a beer there, sunshine. Thank you very much. No, good as gold. I know it's a bit mad walking in with my camera on me.
No, don't be silly. We're bothered about all that. We've got cameras on us fucking 24 hours a day.
Yeah, you're telling me about that.
Been one of my best mates. Been one of my mates since we was kids. And one of the most staunchest, nicest fellas in the world you're ever going to meet. I actually met him in Maidstone Prison when he was serving 7 years for manslaughter.
Okay.
And like I say, and then we come out and we become good friends. And ever since, he's been one of my best mates in the world.
And he's always been there for me.
Yeah.
And he's been a father figure, but he's always been an older brother, best friend. He always has been, and he's never wanted nothing off me.
No.
Always give me. True.
Yeah, it's good. I love him, mate.
I love you as well.
Have we ever
took? I can't buy him a drink.
It's like being in an episode of The Sopranos. They all seem to love Vic, but then they've never been at the wrong end of him or his gun.
Well, he's just one in a million, mate.
Yeah.
This is Glenn. He runs his own steel supply business.
Funny, really, since been seen out with him, everyone pays me on time. It's quite handy, really. All of a sudden, all these knockers don't pay me. It's great. So I just made a phone call and the checks are in the post. But no, it's good, really, because when I first met Vic, the business was probably doing, I don't know, 7-8 million a year turnover. It's up to about 20 million now. And you don't do that sort of turnout without people like his name behind you.
Yeah.
So although he ain't got no involvement in the business, where we've grown close, if anyone ever tries to knock me, he's just mention his name is enough. He don't even have to get on the phone.
So while they all love him, there ain't no doubt about his stature. Time for me to make me exit.
What's up, babe?
It's up to you. What do you want?
Yeah, cool. The pals are always a different thing, you know. It's always a whole new ball game. And you know, as soon as I walked in, you know, the first geezer stands up, looks me straight in the eye. I thought, okay, what is this, a test? It's almost not mafia-like, but that, you know how they've got their circle of people and that's it.
So what had led Vic down the criminal path? I've asked him to take me back to the beginning to see where it all began, to the East End. We're driving through Canning Town, and it stirs memories for Vic.
It breeded a really hard type person because it was the docklands. They worked in the docks. I mean, and they was nicking things out the docks. The good thing about Canning Town, it was known like they was very staunch people, weren't they? In them days, there was like sort of, you know, anyone who come from Canning Town. Most of the jails was filled up with Canning Town people. Be honest with you, do you know what I mean? Yeah. We was brought up in a thing called the old school. You helped the granny across the roads. You know what I mean? You made sure you never robbed the working class person in your life. You stuck up for them.
Throughout its history, the East End has been one of the poorest areas of London. Those living here worked hard to earn their bread. However, some went further and used crime to get the jam.
If you look at crime in the East End of London in particular, I mean, you can define it in some ways as a form of self-help exercise. You know, it's the people, it's the have-nots trying to be the haves, finding their own way of getting what they need and what they want.
The courage and resilience of the East Enders was well documented during World War II. These people were bombed night after night, but however the Germans tried, they couldn't break their spirit. As London was rebuilt after the war, being an East End gangster was like being a film star. You got the best in life. There was all the glamour and all the girls. The Krays were at the forefront of the 60s London underworld. They were respected in this part of the world, and they were feared everywhere else.
They're communities that are very close, that look after themselves, that generally come out of poverty. Quite often they're using their money to help their own.
This is the code that Vic inherited, the basis of the world he operated in. He's brought me to his old neighbourhood in Leytonstone, where he grew up.
It was like a shop, and in here used to be an old junk shop, and this used to be my front door. It's the worst thing when you're a kid to live behind a junk shop. You're going to grow up with a fucking chip on your shoulder, aren't you, mate? And you literally, aren't you? My old man go, "Where do you live?" I go, "I live behind a junk shop." I thought, fuck's sake, you know what I mean? We never had a proper bath for years. You know, like, and if I wanted some shoes, I wanted that, it was all like, everything was double hard work then. Yeah.
And it was at the school, yards from his home, that Vic met friends that give him his first taste of crime. While still in their teens, they began by doing jobs on jewellery shops, by making holes in the windows.
We used to have a big metal catapults, the big things, we used to get the ball bearings. The bigger the ball bearing, the bigger the hole in the window. Yeah. So, like, we just stood there like that, as a lorry goes, cool. So as long as it didn't hit the silver strip, the bells wouldn't go. So it's like a bullet, it was like, whoa! And it used to go over like the old coat hangers and get out the dry cleaners, you know, the thin ones and that, get a hook on it. Used to go over and so they called the fucking jewellery out the windows, all that. Cool, so like a little time, all these jewellery shops were getting sort of knocked out on here because obviously they were looking for guys doing all jewellery windows. Yeah. And I remember when I was in that house, we used to have these wardrobes. And I used to stack all my money out in the wardrobe and I used to think, you know, here you are, big tough fucking armed robber, right, and go, when I was a kid, I fucking hope my mum don't find out, she'll kill me. You know what I mean? That's what it was like.
We drive up the road to posh Wanstead.
I met this bird, right, this is where she lived, right? Now, you see the difference of the areas. This is like, this area was like, you know what I mean, Dan? This
It's only 5 minutes down the road, I know, isn't it?
Yeah, and she lived up here. And I went into her house and like, I was like, fucking hell, beautiful house, chandeliers and...
Yeah.
I mean, and this is what really catapulted me into wanting money, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, because you see the area to where we just come from.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know, it's mad, isn't it?
This is my girlfriend, ex-girlfriend's house here. So I'd come into these areas and I'd realise what money was about then, do you know what I mean? So this is what really, really kicked me off, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I want a taste of it.
I want some of it, yeah. And I weren't going to get it fucking working at Falls.
So Vic had no choice. It was his poverty that had led him to a life of crime. So his brother must be a criminal as well then. But it turns out nothing could be further from the truth. Vic's younger brother Tony is a multi-millionaire. He had the same upbringing, but made different choices, making his fortune out of packaging, not robbery.
You was chasing money at an early age, I think. And I think that was your route, you know, you was working all weekends, weren't you, on the railways, grafting your nuts off, earning 50, 60 quid a weekend, and every weekend you're just doing the same thing. I think enough was enough, and you said, this is it, I want to earn easy money.
I'm glad, really, that my brother took the route he did, because, like I say, it's made the family proud.
But we have made us, as I said...
Like I say, we all took different routes, and he has made us, he's a brilliant businessman, and he's put the family on the map, really.
What I wanted to know was why Vic hadn't made the same decisions as his younger brother.
Why do you think you took a different path to your brother then?
Some brothers, you can't say all brothers are the same.
No.
They're totally different. You've got two different brothers, and he, like you said, he's always been good. He's been not one of them natural people who's like, I'll cheat him at cards and still win. He's just one of them people.
Oh,
whatever I did, whatever he's done, he's turned to gold. Living behind a junk shop, not even having no money, we both strived to get where we wanted to be. Obviously, he's took the long road and got here and done really, like I say, I'm proud of him. I'm proud of the people who work hard and get there, not normal working class people. Obviously, I took shortcuts. I decided to go out and take what I wanted, and he's decided to go the right routes, and which is, I know I was wrong.
Yeah.
And I say it to all the kids out there, I knew I was wrong. What I did then, I know I was wrong.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, if I could change my life tomorrow and be like my brother, I would have done it. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I was born behind a junk shop with mum and dad, bless them. And as I say, but I weren't going to have it. I wanted to go different routes. My brother's took the time, he's got here, and I love it a bit. It's fantastic.
I couldn't believe the difference between the two. Perhaps Vic's bad example had been a warning to his younger brother. Vic's moved out of London now, and he's trying to make a new life for himself, leave the past in the past.
What could be more different from the toughness of the East End than this sleepy suburban village? Vic swapped the muck and crime for mowing the grass and tending the roses.
Life for me has changed so dramatically. In this area, it's mostly like it's a sort of middle class, rich area, really. Very, I suppose, ooty-tooty. There's so much greenery and just wake up in the mornings and it's so nice just to be sort of alive, really. I look out, I've got big trees at the back of my house all swaying around and, you know, and it's just absolutely lovely. Just like, I would never, ever move back to London ever again, you know.
He's also met the love of his life, Alison.
He's completely different to what you think he's going to be. He's kind, he's gentle, he's a gentleman. I suppose that's his good quality in a man these days, anyway.
Well, I love her, don't I? So this is sort of... sometimes I found it very hard to love someone after so long in prison. But now, sort of, I've broke all them barriers down, and it's nice to find love again, you know, so it's nice.
I wondered what she made of his past.
To be quite truthful, I know bits and pieces, but I don't know everything. I don't really want to know everything. Some people have said, oh, what he's done and what he hasn't done, and I don't really want to know. I've never even read a book or nothing of his at all, so it's about now, isn't it, not the past, so I like to make my mind up about anyone anyway.
For 20 years, 21 years, I was wrapped around men, so it's nice to come out and I'm wrapped around the family again, and it's absolutely... So last thing on my mind is knocking about with gangs or groups of fellas, so I'm milking every minute of it because it's something I've dreamed about for the last 21 years.
He tends to be a bit cautious around food as well. He doesn't like going to strange places to eat. I suppose that's the effect of him being in prison all them years.
In prison, people had spat in Vic's food. He'd paid for his crimes then, and he was still paying now. I could see his past didn't want to let him go.
That's what you hear when there's a bug in your car. So now I'm going to run this car. This is how you run a car, like this.
A few years ago, the police used surveillance technology to entrap Vic.
So you run it round the bottom, like that.
He was acquitted with a conspiracy to murder charge. Today, he doesn't take any chances.
I've got to be whiter and white. I've got to be Snow White. I'm looked at all the time, so I've got to be... Everything's got to be right. Car insurance, your tax, everything's got to be right. Everything's got to be paid, all the bills have got to be paid, everything's got to be done. You've got to be ultra white, especially in my situation, so more so than anyone on the planet Earth, really.
So this gear here, what's it, illegal or what?
No, you can buy it from any shop, any spy shops. Yeah. It's called anti-surveillance.
Right, so listen, we both know you're a straight goer now. Now, why would they bug you?
Because they want to. Because what it is it's people you knock about with. So you could be at it and I don't know. I can walk up to you, you might be up to something, I don't know what you're up to, I ain't going to ask you what you're up to. I'm not a busybody fucker, am I? No. So whatever you're doing could get me in trouble because I don't know what you're doing. They think my association with you, just because I'm talking to you, means that I'm guilty of a crime I don't even know about. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why you have got to be careful what you say. Say like you're in some people's tellies are bugged. Literally, they watch you through the telly. I know it's science fiction, but it's true. So there you go, you know you've got a bug in the telly, so you fancy your leg over, you can't even have sex in the front room, can you?
Camera in your telly, watching you.
Yeah, literally.
A couple of days is plotted up. Right?
Yeah.
You're never going to be out of that world, are you, with the police?
No, never. No, never. I'm always going to have them on my back. Like I say, what you're up against is one of the biggest firms, tastiest firms, well-funded firms, probably in the world. MI6, SOCO, the old National Crime Squads. You're up against some of the biggest, tastiest firms. Do not underestimate them at any time. You know, so everything you do, you have to watch.
I had to remind myself why the police might be interested in Vic. He'd done some pretty serious crimes in his time.
The mad thing about doing this, meeting Vic, is that it's the first time I've actually sort of, done one of these shows about someone who's from my manor, from my area, speaks the same way as me, has been brought up with the same sort of morals. The difference being, look, listen, I know his game, he's a bank robber, he's hurt people, and, the fascinating thing for me is this man's done 21 years in prison. He spent half his life behind bars, and it obviously sort of moulds you into something, being incarcerated.
It also seems it haunts your life forever. Vic Dark was one of this country's most feared armed robbers. He'd held guns to people's heads, but for his crime, he did the time, 21 years in total. While Vic was in prison, he had a lot of time to think. He told me he wants to right a few wrongs. It seems to be a better use of his energy. I met up with him at this snooker hall to chew the fat. He was upset about the number of stabbings in the news, and he wanted people to learn from his prison experience.
I'm not going to stand there and be an hero. I'm not going to say to kids like follow my footsteps, because I've been a total disaster. I've been banging up for 21 years. Absolutely hard way. There's no winners in this game. No winners. And the murder squad's rate is 99.5. They nearly get everyone. So most of them will get arrested, all these young kids. So before they do it, I just want them to know the fucking misery they're going to cause on both sides of the fence. The person who dies and the person who goes to prison. Because the person who goes to prison is going to get 20 years of hell. At least the kid, whoever it happened to, he didn't really know about it, but their family will. So there's two losers in that game. There's never one winner. No, in a million years does anyone win.
Vic is concerned with the high incidence of suicide in the prison system. In prison, he made friends with a guy called David Croak. Croak was a convicted murderer and was found hanging in his cell at Whitemoor Prison in November 2007. Official investigations into the incident point to suicide, with these black eyes being caused by a fall. But Vic believes otherwise. He's made it his mission to help Croak's family.
We want an inquiry, don't we? We want our own people, solicitors, to interview the prisoners who were there, want the names. We want our own body to investigate what happened to your dad. Yeah. That's what we want.
Yeah, there is going to be inconsistencies, as I did already.
The reason I do these sort of things is that most people, when they get out of prison, they forget about this fellow prisoner back in prison. After being in prison for 21 years of my life, I can't forget.
I'm a straight goer, as they call me, and certain questions and certain people you need to speak to, it's nice to have someone like Vic who's there for you, by your side, and he's asking the questions, talking to people that you wouldn't normally be able to do.
And there's a lot of people in the prison systems who are fighting their case who've got no one to shout to, and I'm just speaking on behalf of all my friends, and there's a lot more, lot more.
At the graveside of Croak, Vic gets a chance to reflect.
I've lost quite a few friends in prison. About 11 friends have died in prison. And you wake up in the morning and you just think, you're numb, you just don't understand it. It's just a list and list of people. I thought about suicide once or twice in my life in the long prison sentence I've done, but obviously I fought through it. And it is, you go to the edge. And like I say, I've pulled myself back, you know, I see my mum looking down and just throwing the life out of me. I mean, I've seen people rip their intestines out, I've seen people cut their wrists, I've seen people hanging themselves. I mean, it's just prison, it's not what you think it is. It's a proper horror factory. I just wish I grew up some way different, you know. I just wish, well, I can't wish it's happened. I can't feel sorry for myself.
It was plain to see that Vic's time in prison still haunted him today. But was it the prison time that he regretted, or the crimes that he'd done?
When you look back over the robberies you've done, I mean, how do you feel? You know, how do you feel about that? I mean,
I feel a bit guilty for all the people I've caused mayhem to, really.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I feel I'd like to apologise while I'm on the programme, sort of all the upset I caused a lot of people, but I've done my time, and I'm not proud of it.
I'd met a man who'd run around London with a shotgun and a sledgehammer, stacking his winnings in his wardrobe and living it up. But a man who'd lost 21 years shut up in jail, who was still haunted by the shadows of his past and felt people were still out to get him. I'd found a man whose crimes hadn't paid.
I dreamed of being a family man over the last 21 years locked up, so I got what I want, and believe it or not, that's what keeps me on the straight and narrow, my family. I've got too much to lose now. The game's over. I've retired.
I'm Danny Dyer. Playing hard men and acting tough has been my bread and butter. But now I've got a new role. I'm tracking down some of the most feared men in the world, operating on both sides of the law. I'm going to find out what makes them tick, how they got their fearsome reputations, and why they're considered to be some of the world's deadliest men. Paramilitary terrorist, loyal friend, suspected killer. At one time, Sam McCrory was Britain's most wanted man.
I'm a good friend, I'm a bad fucking enemy.
This notorious ex-terrorist from Northern Ireland now lives in exile.
I want to find out what happens to a terrorist when they've lost the cause they're fighting for.
I'm not proud of what I've done, but it had to be done. I was dedicated to it.
They say one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. I'm going to find out for myself.
I've come to the picturesque seaside town of Dyer in Scotland to meet Sam McCrory, an ex-paramilitary terrorist from the war-torn streets of Belfast. The Troubles was a 25-year battle between Catholics and Protestants for control of Northern Ireland. With the British Army stuck in the middle, nearly 4,000 people were killed.
They have a bloodlust, and some of them certainly appear to be psychotic killers.
Paramilitary groups from both religions were involved in everything from riots to murder.
They were like football casuals, but they were football casuals with guns.
At the age of 18, Sam was recruited into the outlawed Ulster Freedom Fighters, alleged to have killed over 100 people. These were hardline Protestants who wanted Northern Ireland to remain under British rule. They fought the Catholic IRA with a brutal violence to stop Northern Ireland from becoming part of the Irish Republic. Sam became the most ruthless and dedicated soldier of his generation and went to the ultimate lengths for what he believed in.
He had a reputation for being a hands-on trigger person. There's no question about that.
We were the business. It was us. There was no banner in us.
I'd heard rumours that Sam was now living his life as an openly gay man. This is the first time he's ever told his story. Terrorist or freedom fighter. I'm going to meet the man and make up my own mind. Sam had arranged to meet me at the end of the promenade.
I don't know what to expect, to be honest with you. I never do know what to expect in these situations. The first meet's always the toughest. Sussing each other out, you know what I mean? But I don't know, who he's going to be with. I don't know if he's going to be on his own. All I do know is that he's late. At least it's nice and open here. There's a few people about, so I think I'm going to be all right. How are you, mate?
How you doing, Billy?
Good to meet you, bro.
Right, pal, how are you?
Pleasure, mate, yeah.
Right.
What a mad place to meet you.
Do you like it?
It's mad, mate, I tell you. It's quite a nice little setting, I've got to say. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So you're going to take me on a little bit of a mission, yeah?
Yeah, no problem.
Let's have it.
Where do you want to go? Do you want to go
I
to
don't know,
Malpa?
mate. I'm in your hands. I'm in your hands.
Let's go.
All right, boys?
All right. Take him a fucking job. Give him away, cannot. We'll hold him for ransom.
I hope he was joking.
This is my local town. It's a fucking brilliant wee town.
Oh, you like this town, yeah?
Oh, brilliant, mate. People in there are really, really nice folk. And we're just heading up to my wee flat. I've been in it 7 years. I've only got one bit of hassle. So there's two guys trying to kill me, trying to shoot me dead outside my flat one night.
OK. That's all you fucking need, don't it?
Someone wanted to settle old scores with Sam after a bitter internal feud broke out in Belfast that led to him being exiled here in Scotland. It wasn't the IRA who shot at him, but someone fighting on the same side. Now he never gets a car to his front door and instead walks the last 100 yards. I was keen to get off the street and into the safety of his flat.
Hiya, pal. Hiya, pal.
Mate.
Then you come, pal.
Hello, mate. Nice little gaff. Nice and tidy.
Take a pew, mate.
He's bang on, he's sweet, isn't it? Thank God. You know, it's always a bit nerve-wracking, you know what I mean? But actually, he's sweet as, he's good as gold. I feel a bit settled now.
Sam had something at the bottom of his wardrobe which gave a clue to the violent life he once led.
It's a Mark 5. I'll stop an AK-47.
A Mark 5, yeah?
Yeah.
So that stop a bullet?
Yeah. Fucking hope so, it'll work.
I was going to say, don't really want to find
Just
out,
put
really,
it up
do you?
over your head here. There you go.
One of them ones, yeah? So you just whack that underneath your top, yeah?
Yeah, that's all.
God, I won't feel very confident in that if someone's going to take a shot at me.
That's it.
It's still going to prop her out, though, isn't it? You're going to go over, aren't you?
Well, if really right fucking clever, they'll shoot you in the head.
Yeah, mate. A mad thing to have in your house, though, isn't it?
That's just a way of life.
Yeah, of
And
course.
it's just later. I haven't more. I only more when I went to Belfast. My dad was in hospital. I come up on this Shagger Road, and my mates went out here put that on because it was the longest feed on. And I put it on, put my jacket up over it, and I was at. And then they just said, "Take it back with you," and it's fucking laying there. It's not illegal.
Yeah, of course.
It's fucking illegal about it.
Yeah, of course, of course. Of course, naughty, that, isn't it?
Coming up, Sam risks his safety by taking me to Belfast.
Don't film it, don't. I'll take it off you, take the camera off you.
Have you any identification with you at all?
And I can't deny it to you. I'm scared.
The struggle of the IRA has been well documented. But I'm on a journey to find out more about the other side, the loyalists who fought the IRA with a brutal terror of their own.
I'm a good friend, I'm a bad fucking enemy.
Sam McCrory was a gunman in the Ulster Freedom Fighters' notorious unit, C Company. But after a bitter feud with his own organisation, he now lives in exile in Scotland, and his violent past still haunts him.
2 guys tried to kill me, tried to shoot me dead outside my flat one night.
Sam grew up in Belfast in the 70s during the height of the Troubles. He was part of a lost generation, desensitised to violence after witnessing atrocities from a young age.
I grew up seeing British soldiers coming into my country, right? Houses burning, buses being burnt, rioting, shootings. Right, so I was about 4 or 5. My dad was a vigilante, right? The main vigilante the area, right? To protect you from what we believe were their enemy, who was the nationalist community, Republicans, Catholics, nationalists. We grew up at an age when you were about 5 or 6, you went round the doors and used to collect all the milk bottles because the men would have made petrol bombs at night to defend their area. Maybe a couple of men will give you a couple of bob to go to a shop to get yourself sweets from for doing a job. You were just up every night. If you weren't collecting milk bottles, you were throwing stones over a barricade.
Teenagers like Sam are often sucked into political violence.
It's just drummed in you. We just thought Catholics are the enemy, and they thought the same as us. We're the enemy.
Sam and his friends were the new generation of Protestants from the Shankill Road. More militant, more dedicated, and more violent than anyone before.
Don't surrender! The IRA had the upper hand, so we decided to fight fire with fire and fight the IRA on a level battlefield, and they didn't like it.
The man behind the balaclava in this old news footage is allegedly Sam McCrory. Filmed on operation for C Company in the early 90s. C Company was run by Johnny Mad Dog Dyer, Sam's best friend and military commander. Together, they would turn C Company from a renegade outfit into the most feared Protestant paramilitary unit the Troubles had ever seen.
2 masked gunmen walked into this pub, shouted "trick or treat," and began firing indiscriminately. Catholics and Protestants had been drinking and socialising without division, and they were killed together. When the gunmen ran out of ammunition, they paused, reloaded, and began firing all over again.
This brutal C Company shooting was in retaliation for an IRA bomb in the Shankill Road that killed men, women and children. Tit-for-tat murders plagued the community. Many innocent people were wrongly targeted or caught in the crossfire.
People will tell you violence is wrong, right? But I once had a policeman tell me, if you believe in it, you can't take that belief away. And I had a strong belief. What I was doing was right. I didn't do it to fill my pockets for the money. I mean, I thought I risked my freedom and I risked my life so to do what I done. I mean, and I'm not proud of what I done, but it had to be done. I was dedicated to it.
But Sam lived a double life. Not only did he have to fight to protect his country, he had to fight to hide his sexuality. Being gay at the time in Belfast wasn't accepted, and being a terrorist made it even worse.
So you're openly gay, yeah?
You are.
Yeah. And what was that like in the UDA? I mean,
well, that was like a double life, because I found it very hard. Because see over there, because of the political situation, the sectarian situation, gays, they weren't needed. It was like, here's another problem. You know what I mean? There's enough fucking political problems. Who are these people? I think some of my close friends knew. You know what I mean? But it was very hard to keep inside yourself.
It must have been really tough.
You know what I mean? It was dead secretive. And plus, I had to watch where I was going.
Of course.
Because of who I was and where I was attached to. But obviously because your tattoos and all. You know what I mean?
These tattoos are symbols of Sam's political affiliations and made going out in public difficult.
Being gay, I had to watch who was socialising me, where I was going. You know what I mean? Just in case somebody decided to set you up and get you fucking banged. You know what I mean?
What was the first tattoo that you had?
My very first tattoo was a Swift. My very last tattoo was one on my dick.
One you winding me up?
No.
You got one on your dick?
Yeah. I got one on here.
Fuck it.
That's my very last tattoo.
Fucking, what is it?
An anchor.
An anchor?
Anchor. So when I use it, I try and say, can I weigh me anchor in?
I didn't expect that. Fuck me. That's mental. Well, first impressions, obviously. He's a passionate man. You know, I've also heard that he's gay as well, and I just didn't know how that was going to work. And you know, you just get images in your brain, but actually, you know, he's fascinating. You know, it's early days yet, but I'm sure this guy's really going to. He's really going to freak me out, not in a bad way.
I took some time out down the arcade to get my head together. Meeting Sam had opened up a lot of questions. Was I just another Englishman trying to understand the Irish troubles? I need to be at the top of my game because tomorrow, Sam wants to take me back to Belfast to show me the streets where he grew up. Since moving to Scotland, he's only been back a handful of times, and always with strict security precautions in place. The danger is real, but Sam wants to show me what he fought and nearly died for. To understand his new life today in exile, I've got to go to Belfast to see it with my own eyes.
Obviously, he doesn't live there no more. He can't live there no more. He's got a lot of enemies in Belfast. And it just makes me a bit wary. I feel safe around him, but yet when we start going to Belfast, it's a whole new ball game. And I can't deny it to you. I'm scared.
It's 6 a.m. the next morning and the start of our journey.
Looking forward to it. Strange feeling getting back home. So that I slept like a log, but it was waking like a wee bit of excitement in my stomach.
For security precautions, I'll travel to Belfast separately. I often get recognised, and I don't want to jeopardise the whole trip by drawing attention to him. Sam's chosen to take the ferry to avoid any hassle from the police at the airport.
It's just one of these things, your past just comes back to haunt you most of the times. And as far as I'm concerned, which rightly so, I'm a convicted terrorist.
Lots of things were racing through my mind, to be honest. I wasn't exactly looking forward to hanging out in Belfast with a film crew and an ex-paramilitary terrorist. As Sam gets closer to Paul, he's more worried about being stopped by the police. Even though he's doing nothing wrong, he could still be detained for hours under the Prevention of Terrorism Act. And just when he thinks he's made it on board safely, disaster strikes.
Whoa! Don't film it, don't. I'll take it off you, take your camera off you.
Sam's been recognised by a policeman and stopped.
Have you any identification with you at all? Yeah. Just handy. Thank you. Thanks, sir. Thank you very much. Thought I recognised the jug, that was all. Been a while, Sammy.
It has, it's been a while.
Thought I recognised the face.
I know, I noticed you selling it,
I just wanted to satisfy my curiosity.
Of course you did. Of course you did. Thanks a lot.
How long are you over filming?
Just a day. Just a day. Coming back tomorrow.
Have any hassle?
Nah. Just going to do my documentary and that's it. Back home.
No problem. Right, we'll let you get on, gentlemen.
Thanks a lot, sir. See ya.
Thank you.
You noticed my face and I'm wearing sunglasses. You look at that photo, that was me 10 years ago. Look at me now. A further shaved head now. I have a tattoo on my face there. Well, I have no tattoos. But he still need me. So strange, isn't it?
After being stopped, the reality of what he's doing hits home.
If I'm born to be shot dead in Belfast, I'm not going to fucking drown the sea. And that's just fact of life. These people don't frighten me, they don't worry me. I don't give them a second thought. So Belfast is a long, distant memory for me. I have good memories and I have bad memories.
Accompanying Sam on the trip is Dougie, a good friend and associate.
Well, I don't anticipate any problems with, obviously, Sammy's various death threats.
But despite what might lie ahead, Sam's in high spirits.
No chance. If I was caught with a firearm, I would get 25 years in prison.
I've landed in Belfast, and on my way from the airport, the cab driver shows me the mean streets where Sam learnt how to be a soldier.
So, Donny, first time to Belfast, yeah?
Yes, mate.
Yep.
Yep, never been here before.
You like it?
I feel quite safe in your cab anyway, yeah? Good man.
I haven't lost a passenger yet.
That's what I like to hear.
Cabbies have their own place in history in Belfast. It was often an easy way to tell a person's religion, so driving the streets was like running the gauntlet.
Say maybe the IRA fund a Protestant taxi firm to pick someone up, then they killed him.
Really?
You know, so there was many taxi drivers killed. I'm from a Shankill Road, so I couldn't go into the falls and have a pint of beer.
Okay.
Even though there's no way of telling the difference, you're not going to put yourself in a position where you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Everyone knows everyone.
Yeah, of course.
The Protestant Shankill Road and Catholic Falls Road were the main hotspots for sectarian violence.
It was one of the two roughest roads in Western Europe. The Falls was the other one, the running parallel. It was a war zone, frankly. I mean, there was incidents every single day, whether it was shootings, attempted shootings, whether it was bombings, whether it was hijackings, whether it was riots. You had everything there.
Back on the boat, there's still time for last-minute planning.
See when we get to Belfast, I'm going to show you where we're going to go, OK? This is a peace line here. It's Catholic, and the bottom part of it's Protestant. North Belfast was called the Murder Triangle, so it was. It goes in a triangular shape, and there was that much killings. It was a very, very bad area for both religions. Catholics and Protestants committing murders.
There's a bit of history in there.
Yep. Belfast is history.
Who would have thought? Folded up in there, 3,500 lives.
Once in Belfast, Dougie has made preparations so nothing will happen to Sam.
I don't see anybody running up the high street with an AK-47, but it would be a crowd roaring about Sammy, and that's where the danger would start, so I'll get people ready to move him within 5 minutes.
I'm hearing firsthand that the potential death threat is not exaggerated.
So do you think that the likes of Skelly would be welcome back here?
No.
Never?
Never. Not all of what's happened, you know, definitely not. Them boys will just have to stay away, and anyone who left Belfast to go with Johnny Adair and all, they've made a decision, and they'll not be welcome back.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there was a young lad who went along with him, and he was told he was safe to come back, and he came back and they killed him. So that's a message to the rest of them.
Yeah.
You know what will happen.
Fucking hell. I know he's a bit paranoid about coming back here, obviously, for obvious reasons now. Whether I'll be a target because I'm with him, I don't know. I don't know.
Coming up, reality bites in Belfast.
Fired 33 rounds, a hacker and cock rounds, and rattled the side of the car. So it's just basically fucking chaos in this bridge.
It's obviously a very emotional thing for him.
I'm in Belfast waiting for the arrival of ex-terrorist Sam Skelly McCrory. I've already found out that he's not welcome here.
Anyone who left will not be welcome back.
Yeah, I've got to say, I quite like Belfast. It's been nice for me. I don't feel under threat at all, but, you know, bringing Sam into the mix, that changes things a little bit. I know that.
Sam had already been stopped in Scotland.
Is there any identification with you at all?
And I didn't know if he'd made it over yet in one piece.
Just intrigued to see how his journey was, you know. I'm sure it wasn't as smooth as mine. Here he is, I think. Here he is, yeah.
Hello, mate. How you doing?
How you doing, sunshine?
Okay, mate. How was your journey?
Oh, mine was sweet as a nut. How was your journey?
Fucking shocking. Don't be surprised within the next 24 hours we'll get stopped in North and West Belfast.
You think so?
Well, they'll expect me to be in that area making a documentary because it's about my life.
They're on us today.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump in the motor then and slip off lightly.
No
Come on, let's go.
With no time to lose, we hop into the car with blacked out windows and head off.
Right now, just watch it. Not this one, the next one. To the right.
The first thing Sam wants to do is something he's never done before in his life. Openly cross the religious divide between Protestant and Catholic neighbourhoods.
This is what they're fighting is a gate. So, this is me in a loyalist area, and I'm now getting into a Republican area. And this road was used on numerous occasions by both sides of religious divide for killings, bombings, whatever went done through the phalanx. They said this is why they erected these gates. And they used to close at 7 o'clock at night, so you couldn't get through here. Fucking crazy, isn't it?
To keep the two religious communities separated and prevent sectarian murders, huge concrete walls were built, known as peace lines. Some are 40 feet high and over 3 miles long.
You really understand how much hatred there is when you have to build a wall to separate human beings at the end of the day. You know, it's pretty drastic measures. And it's only when you see it and how high it is when it really hits home, you know? Sad state of affairs.
I should have taken stupid things down the banner. Right? But I'm quite enjoying this.
The craziness of the whole political situation was becoming clear to me. Sam is a product of his environment, but if he'd been born on the other side of the fence, it would be a different story.
This here was nationalist and Republican, and I was born here. So as you can see, if I'd have been born 50 yards that way, I'd have probably been the IRA. So I'll fight the British. I'll tie close.
It's still early in the morning, and Sam decides it's safe to visit his old stomping ground. This estate was the power base for C Company, the most feared paramilitary unit the Troubles had ever witnessed.
Different memories coming here. I've actually don't even give it much thought anymore. But this was my old stomping ground, this place here. This was the heart and the base of 2nd Battalion C Company. But sadly it is no more. Used to be our office, now a house, but it used to be our office. This is where everything took place. Organised street demonstrations, military operations. This was it all here.
In the early 90s, the area was heavily patrolled by the army, but it wasn't enough to stop C Company from allegedly murdering as many as 100 Catholics.
The men in the black balaclavas ruled these streets of West Belfast, and the man in charge was Johnny Mad Dog Dyer, the feared military commander of C Company.
Scully and Johnny were extremely close. I mean, each of them knows where the other secrets are buried.
Sam and Johnny's friendship was unbreakable, and together they would take their political struggle to an unprecedented level of brutality.
Johnny Dyer will always be my close and loyal best friend in the world. I will never ever betray him. He's my friend and I love him to death.
Sam's other close friend was Steve McKeague, aka Top Gun, who died of a drug overdose in 2000.
He was a dedicated loyalist, okay? A good friend and a dedicated loyalist and a cracking member of 2nd Battalion C Company.
They had an award ceremony for Volunteer of the Year, and McKee used to win it constantly in the 1990s. He was one of the most ruthless assassins the Troubles has produced, but Skelly would have been up there with him.
It was just quite sad that Stevie's not around anymore.
It was dawning on me how important friendship and loyalty was to Sam. He was even prepared to kill or be killed for it. Although there is peace now, many people are still coming to terms with the past. Their history is painful and not easy to forget. And I got the impression that for Sam, this trip had unearthed some painful memories of his own. At the age of 27, Sam's career as a paramilitary terrorist came to an abrupt end on a bridge in South Belfast. It was also nearly the end of his life.
I was caught at 10 to 7 in the morning with an AKM assault rifle, an SMG double magazine, and a Bernie 9mm 20-shot double magazine, and a sledgehammer, going on a military operation.
Where was you on your way to?
We were heading into West Belfast, National Republic in West Belfast. We had a target to eliminate.
Oh, you was on your way to okay, gotcha.
The authorities believe Sam's unit was on the way to assassinate a high-level IRA figure. After a tip-off, they were ambushed by a SWAT team armed to the teeth and prepared to use deadly force to stop them.
I remember getting the ridge of the bridge and I seen the fucking police car and it was parked across the bridge. They started firing at a car, we jumped out the bottom of the car to run back away, and the car was sliding along the bridge and all the bullet holes were in the side of the car. And all you heard, and they fired 33 rounds, a hack round, cock rounds. The driver gets shot in the leg. One of my arm men gets knocked down, so it was just basically fucking chaos in this bridge.
Really?
I thought it was an Oliver.
Yeah, you thought that was, yeah.
And more so even when it was on the ground, he was punching the gun in the back of my head. And he was going, "You're dead, you bastard, you're dead."
It's a fucking story, that is, fucking hell.
Sam was sentenced to 16 years for conspiracy to commit murder and possession of firearms with intent to endanger life.
The Crown opposed bail because of the risk of further offences, given what he called the murderous activities of the UFF.
Sam was sent here to the most secure prison in Northern Ireland, the Maze. Inside its walls were some of the most dangerous men in the country, responsible for bombings, directing terrorism, and cold-blooded murder.
I've heard a lot about this place, seen a lot of it on the news, but when you actually get here, it looks so intimidating, grey, and just like, you know, we haven't been given permission to film in there, so this is such a bad thing, really. I don't really fancy walking about in there, you know.
There was 52 people on the two wings, and I knew 40 of them.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were from Mashaka Road, who were my friends.
Yeah.
That was our home, so we made it our home. When you look at those prisons, they're all working class boys. both sides, Republican lawyers, there's no fucking upper class and middle class people in jail.
No.
The Maze's reputation as a hellhole was a far cry from the reality of incarceration on Sam's wing. They enjoyed privileged status as political prisoners and even had conjugal rights. Sam was regularly visited each month by his partner, Harry.
The authorities, I think, turned a blind eye to what was going on in the maze. I mean, they had everything. They had drugs, they had mobile phones. I mean, they had conjugal visits. They bribed prison officers. They could have sex with their partners. All this happened. One Halloween, I think it was 1998, they had a firework display. And people reported driving on the motorway past the prison seeing fireworks flying into the air. This was not the top security prison that people thought it was.
It was said that some of the best parties in Northern Ireland took place inside. Believe it or not, these party photos were taken inside the maze and show the summer barbecue that Protestant prisoners and their families held annually.
I just walked into a room and there was a table and the two boys are sitting there, Skelly and Johnny, covered in tattoos, of course, and their shorts, and looked as if they were on holiday. They could have been in Ibiza.
This is probably going to sound really fucking strange. Some of my happiest moments were in there.
Really?
Some of my funniest times were in there. There was some good laughs.
It's a shock, really. You know, it's prison. At the end of the day, it is prison. You're losing your freedom. It's a punishment. Actually, it wasn't that vibe, clearly. But these are very powerful people who still had a big sound society even behind here.
Sam was a military commander inside the maze, and one of the prisoners' Secretary of State, Mo Molan, visited for controversial peace talks.
You can film this place up and down the two wings. You can ask anybody what they want. They'll answer the questions for you, lads.
In 1998, Sam was released along with 428 other prisoners as part of the historic Good Friday Agreement. It was an uncomfortable moment for many in Northern Ireland, but essential for peace and reconciliation.
What you did was inhuman. Try to become human again.
Sam had lost 7 years of his life inside the maze, and his only concern now was to spend time with his partner Harry, who was deathly ill after a car crash. He shunned the glare of the media spotlight and moved to Scotland to be with him before it was too late.
I come over here and I looked after my partner. I moved here on a Sunday and I nursed him till he died the 10th of January 1999. So he died on a Sunday morning. I was in love with the guy was in love with me, and we worshipped each other. Death is a strange thing. I should have been used to it. I've lost that many people, but I'll never forget him. I'll never ever forget that day. And yeah, he was a lovely man. He was a delightful man, and he'd give me the earth, and I'd give him the stars out of the sky.
Before returning to Scotland, Sam has one last thing to do. He wants to pay tribute to his fallen comrades and friends who were killed during the Troubles.
There's an awful lot of glorious paramilitaries buried here. This is like their graveyard.
Almost 4,000 people lost their lives in Northern Ireland during 25 years of political violence.
I always find it quite, it's quite a moment coming to a cemetery anyway, you know, so it's always a bit, whole mood changes, it all gets a bit tense, but, I mean, he's a tough guy, you know, but you can't help but think, you know, get a sense that he's, you know, it must be a moment for him to come over here, you know, he's sort of, I've left him to it, really, he's just wandering about looking for Top Gun's grave now. It's obviously a very emotional thing for him, you know, I don't want to question him too much, you know. Just let him get on with it.
It's been a sobering journey for me. I understand now that Sam was a foot soldier in a political struggle that had spiralled out of control. Death was commonplace, and lots of innocent people were caught up in the violence. When peace eventually broke out in Northern Ireland, Sam couldn't share in it and was forced into permanent exile in Scotland, where the next chapter of his life awaited as an openly gay man. Coming up.
You! Bastard, get away! No, get it, Link! Check that, Link! Don't want blood in the hands.
I meet Johnny Mad Dog Adair.
Next thing, boom, someone came up behind me and shot me in the head.
Oh, fucking hell. Mad Dog. I mean, it says it all, really, doesn't it?
I'm a hit figure. I'm a gay icon.
Sam McCrory was a member of a paramilitary terrorist group in the 80s and 90s, allegedly responsible for murdering as many as 100 people. In Belfast, I discovered the brutal and at times surreal environment that made him. But I still didn't know if he had any regrets about his actions or how he reconciled his violent past with his peaceful future.
Sam is a complex individual. You know, he's definitely a tough lad, there's no two ways about that, but there's a softer side to him, you know, that I'm very curious about.
Sam lives in exile amongst the fishermen and seaside cafes in Scotland. He's still under death threat from enemies in Belfast and unable to benefit from a peaceful Northern Ireland, which he fought for at great personal cost. His best friend, Johnny Adair, joined Sam in 2000, and his arrival in this sleepy town caused an uproar.
Even the local police don't know where in Ayrshire the mob are currently holed up, but they are worried it won't be long before they make their presence felt.
Excuse me, turn that camera off. Turn the camera off.
Johnny Adair lives in the next village 5 miles away from Sam, and I asked to meet him. These two had fought together, been to prison together, and nearly died together. But there was no one else who was closer to Sam, who could throw some light on what made him tick.
You don't knock, I just go on in.
You just go in, do you?
I go on in, that's my best mate. You don't knock. Danny.
Johnny,
Danny.
Pleasure.
All right,
it's good to see you. Pleasure, man. Thank you.
Right.
Thanks for letting me up in your house, man.
No
Thank
problem,
you.
you're welcome.
Beautiful gaff.
True, sunny true.
Sunny true.
Famous for golf and then famous for Johnny Adair.
Yeah. Nice. That's lovely round here, isn't it?
Tiger Woods and all comes to play us golf.
Are you good at golf? Is he any good, Sam, or what?
No, I'm not
I don't play golf.
You know?
It's good at other things, but it's not golf.
I know how close you two are, you know what I mean? But what was he like as a mate, you know?
It's like being married to someone.
Yeah.
I believe personally that you'll only ever in a lifetime find one true love. Like your wife, if you're in love, right, you marry her, you'll only find that once in a lifetime. But people like Sama, you'll only find, as a friend, you'll only find that once in a lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a fact, that's a
rare
fact.
thing.
We can all say we've got hundreds of mates and all, but through experience I know, I had all these mates, I had thousands of mates, but when the chips were down, when I had nothing to offer these people, the names were out. Do you understand what I mean? But with somebody, see, somebody can take you with bread or somebody can take you with butter, he'll always be there for you.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing about him.
Their friendship was nearly ended in 1999 when Johnny was shot at a UB40 concert.
We're having an amazing time. And then this horrible song from UB40, it's a song I hate, it's called The Train Is Coming or something. All I heard was choo 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 choo. Next thing, boom, someone came up behind me and shot me in the head. Luckily for me, it was a damp round, so therefore there was not enough powder in the shell to actually blow my brains out, so it just went into my head and travelled up and just lodged there. That was it, just got to the hospital, and luckily enough they took the round out and I was alive to fight another day. Our life was just constantly being harassed by security forces or being targeted by the Republican movement, and it's really hard. It's unlike football hooligans where it's every Saturday. This was every night, 24/7.
Yeah, absolutely.
We just volunteered for operations. We never questioned orders that we were given, and obviously we were good at what we did. And well, somebody was never a man for rank. He was more a foot soldier than a. He was more a giver than a taker. No, you know what I mean?
You're mad.
I had to keep reminding myself that I was standing in a kitchen with two of the most notorious terrorists from Northern Ireland. They've never been charged with any specific murder and were reluctant to talk to me about certain details.
Understand legally?
Legally?
Absolutely.
A comma?
No, we can't. No, fucking can't.
No, the rumour has it, no?
No, rumour has it.
What remains unsaid speaks volumes about the dark secrets that Sam and Johnny must share. Hearing them talk so casually about political violence, even cracking jokes, was a mad, surreal experience. And I felt drained afterwards.
Oh, fucking hell. Mad Dog. I mean, it says it all, really, doesn't it? I was very interested to see what their relationship was like. And, you know, it's obvious they've been through a lot of shit together, these two.
Today in Scotland, Sam is determined to make the most of his freedom and live life to the full.
Sit down, you fucking bean. Yo! Got him, Link! Sit down, Link! Come here, you slippery fuck. Foxy is real amateurs. Two? Don't want blood in my hands. It's a good lad, 21 in my cut. So I'm well pleased.
After years of having to hide the fact he's gay, he's openly embracing his sexuality and wants the world to see a new side to him.
Joe! How you doing, buddy?
Hi, Joe.
Enjoying to see you.
Right, how are you?
How's things?
All right, fantastic. The only person I know that's gay in Ayrshire is me and him, as far as I know.
We're going for a drink and all, like, we're good buddies now. Just comes with your reputation, we have to look good. He's an icon, I'm an icon.
I'm a hate figure.
I'm a gay icon, so
Every year he attends gay pride marches around the country and has been welcomed by the gay community.
I just believe in equality for everybody. Gays, straight people, black, white, Asian, Indian. You know, we should all be able to live in a multicultural society without prejudice. Lots of people in the gay community up and down this country who knew what I was and they don't judge me, they judge me as I am today. My past is my past. Till the day I die, that will follow me. I can't change it. I can live with what I've done and I can move on. I hope the rest of the community can move on and the rest of society can move on.
There were no winners and losers in Northern Ireland's history. In the battle for hearts and minds, thousands of people lost their lives. Some will never forgive Sam for his actions, nor will they forget. But he wants the world to see he's a changed man. His past will never go away, but Sam has an opportunity to make amends for the future. The final chapter in Sam McCrory's life has not yet been written.